What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon. I'm back at you. Another one. The usual suspects are in the building. And today we are talking about Robert's Rebellion right off the bat. We're going to go through everything dealing with Robert's Rebellion. And it's important for us to know exactly what this is about. Why? Because we know we have the prequel shows from Game of Thrones. House of the Dragon is out now. We know we're getting Dunk and Egg, and there's a good possibility we will get Robert's Rebellion. So we're going to go through all that and set everybody up for that situation. But let me introduce the usual suspects. As always, rocking with us is the man, the one, the only, Phil the Issues guy.
Hey, great to be here. This could be a fun one. I got a nice buzz on to talk about Robert because you need that, and it's going to be a fun night.
We're going to hurry up before he pisses himself. That's the one and only Kaze Sosa on the bottom right there. Bridge 4 is in the building.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Just so everyone in the chat, you guys normally say I'm a little crazy. This is about my bedtime, so maybe I'll be down to level of an average human, but probably not because Red Bull gives you wings.
Sorry,
that was so corny.
Didn't they stop doing that because someone jumped out the window?
Did they really?
Yeah, I think someone jumped out the window and killed themselves, so they had to stop that advertisement.
Someone did the Mary Poppins. They thought if they jump out the window,
they really believed that would give them wings. All right, let's get right into it. Let's roll. What's the deal, my people? The usual suspects are in the building talking Robert's Rebellion. What to say? What up to all the people who are joining us here in the chat? And as always, we know that we will have others join us as long as we just started and more people will join. But right now, we have Christina Slater is in the building. Miss Duncan the Tall is rocking with us. Mark B is in the building rocking with us right here. We got Support Gaming 2020 is in here rocking with us right now. We also have Hannibal, Miss Hannibal. I should just call her Miss Hannibal. What up, Miss Hannibal? How are you, sexy? Hope everything is going good with you. Edward Martin's in the building right now. Slick Rick is in the building rocking with us right now. Jay Cruz is in here. Kiki, her tongue and all, is up in this building rocking with us right now. We have all these people and more, and we'll be answering comments from everyone. And Gray Area is in the building. Let me just say real quick, I know that Gray had some tragedy that goes on in her life, so I want to give out my condolences to Gray and everyone and her family and stuff like that, and send her my support and stuff. Now she wants to back a little Willie here and say, what does it have to do with the Winds of Winter? I'm going to explain to you what it has to do with Winds of Winter when we get into it. I'm going to explain to it. Maybe the Night King is Robert Baratheon. Who knows? But we're going to explain it. We're going to explain it. We got Carla Wade all the way from Australia rocking with us. Mara Chase is in the building chilling with us from the Boogie Wiggy. Siren Thomas is in the building rocking with us. All right, we will get, and always, if you're into podcasts, remember every Friday, Direwolf City, our sister podcast, is live, I think, at 10 p.m. with Gray Area, Alicia, I Eat Zebras, and Nim will be up in the building. So definitely check those ladies out, our sister podcast. We love them so much. Alicia happens to be rocking with us right now. Carol Thomas is rocking with us right now. We'll take a swig for them real quick. Thug Mug is in the ham. Boom, boom, boom. Take that slug for right there. All right, we don't want to hold everybody up all night. Let's get right into it. Phil is going to be holding it down.
Yeah, so Robert's Rebellion is an interesting thing because a lot of things could be a starting point. You talked about it maybe being a TV series at some point. Would you think that the best place to start would be the Tournament of Harrenhal? Like if there is a television series or a movie that starts of Robert's Rebellion, most likely wouldn't that be the best place to start? So I think that should be the place where we start as the first event that leads down the road towards what ultimately became Robert's Rebellion.
Yeah, because it starts. That's where you have to start. I think you're right on that. Unless you want to, I mean, could they? I'll ask you this, Bridge. Would you like to see them show Ned being fostered with Robert Baratheon, like building up their relationship, and then Robert actually meeting lyanna and then getting betrothed to lyanna. Would you rather see that, or would you want to just see him start right there at the tourney of Harrenhal?
That's actually a great question, and it ties into sort of the story that's going on now with the Dance of the Dragons. The real question is like, how much of the lead up into the war, whatever you want to call it, how much of that do you want to include? Because with the Dance of the Dragons, it's like, people age up. Do you want to have to recast people? So my answer to that would be like, I think you want to have as much lead up into it as you can without having to recast people. So if we were to do Robert's Rebellion as a TV show, I don't know about starting at Harrenhal, because there's other events that, like Mad King Aerys Madness, several things led up to that over the course of decades. I think there's a couple other things you can include before even getting to the Tourney of Harrenhal, but I wouldn't want to go back as far as like them like being fostered there as like little kids and then having to recast. I don't know about that. I think you sort of start a little later and then maybe have some flashbacks during the story of them as kids. You know,
Bridge makes a good point, and I think it might be interesting to sort of have the season lead up to the highlight point of that first season be them all arriving at the tournament, and you could kind of because there is a lot of early stuff, maybe seeing a beginning of Rhaegar trying to, I've been playing a lot of Nintendo games, so I was about to say Rhaegar, but to see Rhaegar planning or maybe setting up the tournament, or maybe a hint of that with leads of dealing with his crazy father, or seeing the beginnings of the things with going on with the Starks and all of maybe the beginning of everyone dealing with the foundation of King Aerys being crazy and leading into that direction to lead to that point where Harrenhal is the end of that first season. So I agree with you, Bridge.
Yeah, you would have to, I think, if you're going to start a little earlier, you'd have to show Robert and lyanna being betrothed. You'd have to show why she isn't into him like she should be into him, to set up her and Rhaegar eventually, right? So you don't want her to be into him and then all of a sudden you got to show it, like she says that, like she says to Ned, a man doesn't change. Like she knows that Robert's a whore. You have to establish Robert going out there whoring and sleeping with other chicks and everything else and all that to make it so that when she does, because if not, she's just going to look like an adulterer, right? So you're going to want to have to play her as not a victim, but you don't want her to just look like a chick who's just, she ain't that thought over there. You know what I mean? You want her to look like that. You know what I mean? So the only way to do that is to show exactly how Robert Baratheon gets down. And they did that in the show when Robert came to Winterfell with Cersei. You see him in the north smacking chicks on the ass, putting his face in these girls' boobs while Cersei Lannisters are standing there sucking it all down and just taking it. That's what lyanna did not want to be.
Yeah.
That's why she didn't want to marry him. She did not want to be that version of Cersei. And Cersei, she plays her part. She just sits there like, all right, do whatever you got to do. Have your fun.
Yeah, lyanna wouldn't deal with that. She would say, fuck this. And basically that's probably what maybe we would see in that moment, and kind of leading into the point where it makes sense for her to leave and have a loving relationship with someone else, because at first she could be averse to it, and then when she meets him, she has a moment, oh, he's handsome, he's a big personality, and she could get into him, and then hanging out with him for 24 hours, he's going around slapping everyone's ass, being crazy Robert Baratheon. She's like, I'm not with that, fuck that.
Ooh, and he wanted to make the 8. Is it called making the 8? That was
exactly. He's like talking about, he's screaming, you hear him in the background going, I'm making the 8, and no one's gonna like that,
Right. So,
that.
Bridge, just in case people in the chat don't understand what making the 8 is, can you explain to them what making the 8 is?
No. Actually, when you guys go into the details, I don't want to misquote it, but basically, Robert Baratheon, outside of his love for lyanna, he's a is it the 8 kingdoms? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's just having sex with everybody from each kingdom.
But what is the 8? What is the 8th kingdom?
In Essos, right? Someone from Essos too?
Is it someone from Essos?
Or is it the Iron Islands?
I think it's 8. I don't think it's make the 8. It's not.
No, it's the 8.
I think it's the 7 kingdoms in the Iron Islands, but I always add, I think that's what it is.
Oh, yeah, you might be right there.
You have to have sex with at least one woman for everybody from every kingdom. You have to go around, which Robert's probably made the 8 twice, I would think, in his life. All you gotta do is really. It's not like you have to visit these places at a tournament. There's people from all these places there. So, people may be thinking like, oh, you got to go around the whole country. You don't have to go around the whole country. You got to do meet them at a tournament. Oh, she's from here. She's from here. She's from the Crownland. She's from Dorne. She's from there. It's from there. Boom, 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 and bound it up.
Oh, yeah. 7 in Dorne, Alicia says.
7 and Dorne?
Yeah, Dorne's not part of the 7 kingdoms, right? Well, it is now.
It is. I think it's a 7 plus Iron Islands, because the Iron Islands are technically part of like the Westerlands, aren't they? Or they're not?
Yeah,
I don't know. I can get confused because you have the whole like Aegon conquered the Seven Kingdoms, but he never actually conquered the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah,
because
and,
it was
and
independent
Robert
eight.
never went over to
So,
Essos.
people ask us, Tone, did you make the 8 in New York?
Making the 8. I'm gonna look it up.
I will tell you this: that if you're talking about boroughs, yes, I've had sex with every woman in every borough of New York growing up and Long Island. So yes, I did. There's no doubt. I had a girlfriend. Listen, you grow up in the city, this is what it is. But yes, there's no doubt. I want to put myself out there. There could be people out here meeting me for the first time thinking that guy, Tony Teflon, he just gets around. No, when I was young man out there, in Queens, New York, I was doing my thing, baby. You know what I mean? I was doing my thing. This is what it is. You know what I mean? That's
People
the
say
way.
7 in the Crown Lands. So there is like there's a lot of ways to, I guess there's a lot of ways to reach that 8. It's like when you're rolling a dice. There's a lot of ways to reach 8.
Yeah, I don't know the direct text from the books or whatever, but from the website I pulled up, it was actually what Alicia said. It was a 7 plus Doran. Hey, real quick though, I'm sorry to drift away from this just for a second. In terms of like what event you need to have if you're going to have this as a prequel, you have to have the Defiance of Duskendale. My primary reason when I was about to say that earlier was because of what Barristan the Bold does. Just if you guys don't know his story, I'm not going to get into details unless we want to talk about that. But Barristan the Bold is all right. So I'll tell you the importance. The reason you need to have the Defiance of Duskendale is because they take Mad King Aerys hostage, right? So they take the king of the Seven Kingdoms hostage. First of all, that's just crazy. Now you have Tywin Lannister, who's the hand of the king. He's outside of Duskendale, and effectively, like it's alluding to the fact that like he doesn't really care if they end up killing Mad King Aerys. That'd be like a better thing for the realm. So you got that. So if you think about the end of the Robert's Rebellion, there are events that happen after Mad King Aerys' fall, but the Mad King Aerys' fall obviously is towards the end, and Tywin Lannister is a very big piece of that. Yep. So you have to have that dynamic of Tywin at the end of it. You have to have the Tywin at the beginning of it too. Granted, you don't have to go all the way back to like the War of the Nine Penny Kings. Like you can show that kind of stuff in flashbacks, but you have to have the Defiance of Duskendale. If not for any other reason, it's really about Tywin, but really for what Barristan does. Barristan, he ends up climbing the wall. He goes in there solo, basically. Tywin Lannister says like he's just take a siege outside Duskendale, and then and he says like one more day we're going to attack, right? But if you attack, then they're going to end up killing Mad King Aerys. So Barristan the Bold's like, wait, hold off one more day. I'm going to go rescue him. So he climbs over the walls. He's dressed as like a beggar or something like that. He sneaks in. He kills some guys, frees Mad King Aerys from the dungeon cell, brings him, fights his way to the stables, gets him on a horse, rides out. I think he's even shot. Like Bran was shot in a storm of swords. I think I could be wrong, but I think Barristan was shot by some arrows, and he's just a total man. It was like Barristan was like he was a 007.
Yeah, that's someone in the chat just said Barristan 007.
But you have to.
Exactly.
I think the most important. I mean, obviously, we want to see the valor of Barristan Selmy and his fighting ability and his prowess, and why he gained the name Barristan the Bold, because that's where he got the name the Bold, right? But truly, if you show that scene, the most important is to see the relationship between Tywin and the king, because you have to show why Tywin doesn't like the king, is why he's willing to do that, because this guy. Supposedly, the king had sex with his wife, and supposedly Jaime Lannister, the twins, are not his kids. So I think you have to go a little bit into that if you're going to bring that in there, because you got to understand the background why Tywin doesn't like him as much as he should.
Also, as a Jaime Lannister fan, like this is making me excited. You also have to see, if you're going to see all that.
Real quick, I have 2 Jaime Lannister fans that I
yes. First of all, you have to see. You have to see Jaime become a member of the Knights Guard. You have to see that step that Aerys makes, which is the final kind of fuck you to Tywin in that situation too. You have to see the outcome of that situation so Jaime definitely would need to be a big character, because you'd get the payoff at the end with what Jaime does to the Mad King. So you need to set up Jaime early as well in a series like that too. So, and yes, Tony, you're sandwiched between two Lannister fans here.
Just real quick, the Barristan the Bold thing. I forget the exact details of Barristan the Bold, but he was named Barristan the Bold when he was a kid because he showed up as a 10-year-old to a tourney dressed up as a mystery. He's a mystery knight as a 10-year-old. Badass! It's awesome.
And he won. So he wasn't doing bad at 10 years old. And that is how we got the name Barristan.
The Prince of Dragonflies or someone unhorsed him, but it might have been the Prince of Dragonflies that actually named him Barristan the Bold.
I mean, he should. He's 10 years old. You should be able to unhorse him, right? If you can't, then there's a problem with you if you can't beat a 10-year-old. I think that's what it is. All right. We are into it. Let's start with this thing right now. We have. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button. All right, we need thumbs up. Please thumbs up this video. rock with us. You know what I mean? The more people that you thumbs up the video, the more people that will come in, and this video gets shared by more people. All right, let's get right into it. Let's take it from I guess the Tourney of Harrenhal.
Yeah, I mean, Bridget's right. There is a lot of early stuff, but I guess that first big tentpole event to talk about in the leading up to Robert's Rebellion is the tournament. Now, there's a lot of things that went into it. I know all the rumors about Rhaegar funding the tournament. Before we get into the actual tournament itself, do you guys have any speculation on who funded this? Was Aerys showing up, the Mad King showing up, a surprise to everyone? Because originally it was a place for Rhaegar to kind of talk to the other heads. I can see Bridge agreeing that. Bridge, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, who was it? It was Oswald Went, right? I think it was Went's tourney.
Yeah.
The way it's written, he wouldn't have had the money to have the kind of prizes that were laid out there. So it seems like the money had to have come from Rhaegar. Who else could it have come from?
Yeah, it would have had to be Rhaegar. And if he's willing to spend that much money, that means he has alternative motives. He didn't spend that money to win the tournament. He spent that money to attract all these people to come there. So he had to have a reason. And the only reason I could see is that he wanted to get the support of the other lords so he could overthrow his father and take over.
So I don't want to get to this too early, Tony, but do you think that what he did with Lyanna was more tactical than love-based when he gives her the rose at the end? Was that to essentially get the favor of House Stark in his mind, his core mind?
I think that would no. I think he did that because he understood prophecy at that time. And when he's seen her, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, he realized that this was the person that he had to be with at that particular time. Because in all actuality, him doing that, pissed off the Stormlands because, she's betrothed to Rob. So he pissed off two major houses. He went into this to get the major houses behind him. And by doing this, he pisses off two of the major houses. So the fact that he spent this money to get these major houses behind him, was still willing to do this, he felt that it was more important in the end for him to have to, have this woman in his life than his initial plan of taking over Westeros from his father.
Wow, good comment by Lord Dom Snow. You only spend that kind of money for power and pussy. Rhaegar was thinking about that life. Sorry, Bridge.
So I'm not going to get too deep into the Lyanna stuff because I think we're going to get to that in a little bit. But personally, I think it was straight out love, not prophecy, not political or anything. But in terms of the Rhaegar and the money, I have to jump really far ahead in the story, and I won't stay there too long. But remember, right before Rhaegar actually leaves, he leaves Jaime Lannister. I'm pretty sure the last words he said to Jaime Lannister, like, "When I come back, things are going to change." So that sort of ties in. They may not be related. Maybe Rhaegar made that decision after the Tourney of Harrenhal, but it seems like likely he had a plan all the way back to the Tourney of Harrenhal.
Yeah, it would be poetic. You know what I mean? If Jaime was his father, that would be was the Mad King's son. I think it's a better situation if it was. I think it goes down a little. Or the best way, if you really want to look at it, the best way it could be for the book for storytelling purposes is that he's really Tyrion's father.
Yeah.
The Mad King. Because then you would have Jaime. Oh, no. Yeah, because then you would have Jaime killing Tyrion's father and Tyrion killing Jaime's father. So that would be the best way it would be. Not saying that's the way it is, but that would be the best way for the book, for the narrative.
Personally, I think it's not confirmed, but I think absolutely Jaime and Cersei are Mad King Aerys' bastard children born out of wedlock. But for me, it's better that they are Aerys' children because when Mad King Aerys tells Jaime, he's like, when your father comes in, you have to kill him. Ironically, he did kill his biological father. He killed Mad King Aerys, but also it's like there's so many father killers. You have like Ramsay killing Roose Bolton, or it hasn't happened. I think it has happened already as of before we get to the Winds of Winter. We'll see. I think it happened off screen, but yeah, like him killing Roose Bolton. You have Tyrion killing Tywin Lannister. I think, and also just like the main takeaway of why it's best if Jaime and Cersei are Mad King Aerys' children is that at the end of the day, Tywin Lannister hated Tyrion, and that's his only trueborn child.
Yeah,
they're just like I've already done. I think I've done 3 videos on Jaime Lannister being the Mad King Aerys' child, and I've been saving my main one. That's actually I'm going to do it like 4 or 5 weeks from now. It's like 3 years old. I've got it fully scripted. But yeah, 100%. Jaime to me is Mad King Aerys' son.
We
Super
have
Chat says, who killed Septim? I was supposed to answer this. She asked, I will answer this before the night is over. I promise you, I will answer who killed Septim. But I don't want it to interrupt the conversation that's flowing with this. But thank you so much for the Super Chat. Girl, we love you, Kelly. But I will answer it. I promise you, before this is over, I will do it. Jonathan agrees with Bridge. Yes, Bridge. Kiki is saying maybe that's why they got it on Targaryen blood. Listen, if I had to pick, I think that the Cersei and Jaime would be his kids. That's what I would think. The time period would match for them to be the kids. And then Tywin has the bad-looking kid. You know what I mean? Out of them all, because he's all pompous and everything else. And then when Tyrion says to him, I am your son. Like that really is his child, right? So you would think that's the way it probably is, but I think for story purposes, the fact that Jaime killed his father and they killed each other's father, I think that's a better storytelling. But it is what it is. All right, Phil. Sorry, let's go back.
Oh no. I mean, so we're at the foundation of why the tournament happened and who funded it. So then it gets to basically, I mean, this was in a time of what do they call that time period? The year of false spring, is when this all happened. And I guess the biggest surprise of the whole situation was Aerys getting into that. I don't know necessarily how to tackle. There's so much about the tournament of Harrenhal, some of the stuff that was happening behind the scenes, some of the stuff that was happening in there. So I guess we should maybe talk about some of the people that ended up showing up. Like pretty much every character you could ever think about through Game of Thrones that we know was there, except for Rhaegar Stark didn't come. He sent his kids, which was interesting that he chose to stay at home. So I don't know. Do you think there's any significance to the fact that he stayed home, and does that have anything to do with the fact that Aerys showed up? I'm just curious of some of your takes on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Kelly wants to know. Super Chat says, Bridge, what's up with that Iron Throne script? Yeah, Bridge, you seen that? I sent you that information.
I'll say real quick, because I typed it online last week. Kelly must not have seen. Like, I have scripts that, people documented the scripts online, and I just copy and paste them so that I can use them, so I can search for stuff. I don't have official scripts, so I don't know what the showrunners have for in parentheses, what so-and-so is thinking and that kind of stuff. I don't have that, unfortunately, just the dialogue.
All right. But thank you for the Super Chat, Kelly. I appreciate that. All right. So I think, I don't know if we could really look at it and say, oh, we take this away from him not showing up and his kids not showing up. We don't know how active he was going to any of these tournaments ever. Yeah. So we can't really say anything about that, if it meant anything or was a slight. But we can talk about right off the bat that we got there, we could talk about Ned and Ashara. So we'll go with that. Ashara Dane is there. She's the best looking woman in the realm at this time. Who Barristan Selmy is in love with her, right? Yeah. But he can't be with her because he's given up all of his things. But he's saying that. But even though he's supposed to be in love with her, he says that was it bad? Yeah, he says that if I would have won the tournament, maybe she would have looked my way and not looked towards Stark, right? So,
well, not Ashara. He says that in regards to I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Barristan's upset that he didn't defeat Rhaegar, because if he did, then Rhaegar couldn't have crowned lyanna his love and beauty, and then
right. He takes blame for the situation.
I agree with that. He did, but I think he's saying he said specifically, maybe she would have looked my way, not Stark. Oh. He's talking about Ashara in that situation. I think. Well, yeah, I know that he was into Ashara at that time. Yeah. He wanted her. Now, I do believe that he does blame himself if he'd have won it. Maybe that wouldn't have happened, but it would have happened regardless. The winning the tournament had nothing to do with it all. Rhaegar just put it all on the line. I think that Rhaegar puts it on the line before that, because during this whole dancing situation, when that does go down, this is when we see, they say Rhaegar sung a song that made lyanna cry during that situation. So he was already in the background trying to coax her into knowing, hey, look at me, I'm Rhaegar, I can sing, and lyanna's crying at his songs and everything else. But when Barristan says maybe she would have looked at me and not Stark and everything else.
Real quick, I just looked it up. He explicitly did say that. You're absolutely right. He does think that. I'm gonna go look and see if the thing I said is true. What you said is absolutely true.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Stormy, for the super chat, $20. No question, just showing support. Thank you. We really, truly, truly appreciate that. So, what Stark is he talking about at that time? Because we have the rumors that's going on that Ashara and Ned Stark got together. There's 2 Starks there. It's either Ned or Brandon. I mean, it's 3 Starks there. My bad. We always forget about that last brother.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Benjen's there.
Benjen's there too, right? Guys. Everyone forgets about Benjen. Benjen's really not an issue, He's
the Rickon of that generation.
Who is the Stark that he's told that he says that dishonored her is his word. She got dishonored by the Stark. Who is the Stark he's talking about? Does anyone have any questions that they're talking about?
I always assumed it was Brandon because he was more striking to the look, but I could be wrong. It's I'd always assumed when people were talking that Ned was sort of the Jan Brady of the bunch in that not really talked or looked at, and everyone sort of he was the one standing behind his more striking brother. So at the time, I think it was all about Brandon. Everything was about Brandon at that point in my mind, but it would make sense the other way as well.
Bridge?
I always thought it was Ned because Ned and her actually had feelings towards each other.
See, I got to go 100% with Brandon because it says dishonored. And number 1, I don't think Ned Stark would dishonor her. Number 2, Ned was scared to ask her to dance. All right. So, listen, I was in 6th grade. I went to dances. When you're in 6th grade and all the boys stand on one side and the girls are on the other. And then when you get to high school, a little bit after in the club, this still goes on. It goes on in the club when you're adults because you see all the girls dancing with each other on the dance floor while the guys are just glaring from the sideline, just like we did when we were in high school. And if you're not willing to ask the chick to dance, then you're not willing to dishonor her in any way. If you're not gonna, the only one we know that, that is Pepe Le Pew and takes the pussy like Pepe. There's only one person we know who does that, and that is Brandon. Brandon from Lady Dustin says it. Brandon loved to see blood on his sword. It just shows without a shadow of a doubt that this is the guy who definitely did the deed without a shadow of a doubt. He is the one who takes the pussy like Pepe. It's Brandon she's talking about. Brandon's the one who did it. Super chat from Alicia. Now, Alice, thank you so much for showing some love for you. We truly appreciate you for showing that love. We definitely do. You know what I mean? So
I think it's interesting to think about the tournament in some ways with like all of this going on with all of this stuff that we're talking about. Robert's rebellion. We're talking about, as Gray was hinting at, ultimately Robert being the Night King, of course. But no, we're talking about all of this and Robert was there and the whole time just drinking and whoring around, probably in front of Lyanna, the whole, like at this tournament. Like, I'm not sure if someone could correct me if they actually know how well Robert did in the tournament, but he probably just drank a little bit. He like got out early. It's like you busted early in a poker tournament.
I think he won the melee. Did he win the melee in this tournament? I think he won the melee. I know that they say that he was laughing, like he was beating people so bad that he was just laughing the whole time while he was in, like it was a joke to him. He was just laughing crazily while he was in the melee. Like the whole thing was like, and just smashing people.
Regime says yes, he did win. So he wins the melee, and then the rest of the time.
Wait. Bronson Royce won the melee. Jans Royce won tons of melees.
He won that melee at Harrenhal?
I think so. Yeah.
Did he really?
Yep. Jan Royce won a bunch of them. I think we know of 2 that Jan Royce won. I forget what the second one is, but like Sandor came in second place to Jan Royce, I think 3 times.
And it's said that Robert, when we get to the Lyanna thing, kind of just laughed it off and then got drunk.
It does say other participants, Lord Robert. So Robert presumably took part in that melee, but he did not win. Jan Royce was a beast.
Yeah, listen, if Jan Royce beat him, then Jan Royce did. I know that it specifically does say that Robert was laughing while he was in the melee, but I don't know if it said he actually won. We have another super chat here from Nature Girl 121,999. I love you guys. Do you think Jon and Sansa will get married? John who?
John Connington or something? John what? Do you mean John Stark from the New York Knicks? Maybe that. But I don't think Jon and Sansa will be married.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna go there. I mean, if he's not dealing with the incest with that, he's not gonna with Daenerys and the aunt incest. He's not gonna deal with the half sister incest. He's not gonna run that one there. So I don't think you. But thank you for the super chat. We truly appreciate it. We have over 100 people watching us.
Wow. Thank you.
Please hit that thumbs up button, man. You know, now we go ahead.
Sorry. No, I've got the line here. I didn't remember this line. You're so good, dude. So it's in Eddard. I don't know. It's Eddard 15 or it's something Eddard 9 or something. All right. He could see the deep green grass and the smell of the pollen on the wind. Warm days and cool nights in this. He remembered Brandon's laughter and Robert's berserk valor in the melee. The way he laughed as he unhorsed men left and right. That's awesome. That's like actually. Yo, that's a really nice nod to one of his ancestors, the Laughing Storm. The Laughing Storm used to, well, I think he would do it, I guess, in melees, but also in like joust, he would just freaking laugh all the time. So he's called the Laughing Storm.
That's a good transition, Bridge. Speaking of laughing, we should mention the Knight of the Laughing Tree. And who's a big part of that tournament, came in, kicked some ass, really pissed off Eris, was sort of putting a thumb in the nose. Who are both of your speculation of who the Knight is?
So I'm willing to go into that, but before we do, I think we should say that the Mad King does show up then, right?
Yes, Mad King does show up. And he does also, I want to mention, send Jaime away as like, fuck you, Jaime. You're not allowed to take part in all this fun.
That's important.
Yeah, so the Mad King shows up out of nowhere, hasn't been in public in a very long time. This is the first time people actually got a chance to see him. The guy comes in there, his nails are long. Now, I remember like there was this show back in the day. I'm going to age myself a little bit here, but I caught it on rerun, so fuck yeah. All right. But there was a show, and it was called That's Incredible. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And they showed this guy with the longest fingernails in the world. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Dude, I actually have seen that. There was also those books, like the Great Adventure books. Every year would have this, like, it would be like a bathroom book, and it had like not Guinness books, but it was something like the World Books or something, and it had pictures of that person with the long fingernails. It's fucking
disgusting. So the fingernails, when they grow that long, they curl underneath. Like they come out, they're not sharp like daggers. They come out and then they do like a little curly Q underneath. That's the way they grow. So I gotta figure that he came out with fingernails looking like that with the curly Qs underneath his fingernails, looking all disheveled. And it's a good, people have to realize that he was considered a very attractive man. So to see him in this state, it looked like, from attractive man to crackhead. When it looked like the Mad King is smoking crack, all of a sudden, it's very shocking for people to see him in this state. So we will take these two super chats from going. It says, Jeremiah, thank you. It says the new show. I'm just going to put my glasses on because I'm sick.
No, the new show should have been about Robert's Rebellion. House of Dragons does not seem as interesting to Jeremiah.
Oh, I'm going to prove that wrong. I do think that Robert's Rebellion should be good, but I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to make a video and show you exactly how great House of the Dragon is going to be. I dropped too many videos today, but tomorrow I'll drop that video of how great House of the Dragon will be.
House of the Dragon this show is going to be incredible. Like I said a couple weeks ago, or prior stream, it's going to break records. This show is going to be phenomenal.
It really is. I'm telling people. Kelly Johnson, thank you for the super chat, $10. The Roman Empire had provinces in African countries, so it makes sense they would have black nobility. But did the Valyrians have black Summer Islanders nobility, Valyrians, in the show? So this is dealing with that. So if you're asking, could there be black Valyrians? Why they should be black? When you deal with someone who's a seafaring race and you deal with people who have the ability to ride to different countries like the Targaryens did, or people in old Valyria did, and they enslave people, what we know about people who have slaves is that they have sex with their slaves. That's just what we know about history. All of anyone who's been an owner of slaves has had sex with their slaves, period. So when that happens, offspring happen. So it's most likely that there would be black Valyrian people because they had slaves from all over. It's not far-fetched. It's not a stretch. It is what it is. Even when you look at the Dance of Dragons and the Targaryen seeds that they call them, right? Because they're sleeping with everyone, and they call them seeds on Dragonstone. There's people there from all different colors. So it is what it is. So I would definitely say if you can travel anywhere you want on a dragonback and a girl is hot for you, you're gonna hit it. And that's
you can have bear dragonback stuff any place in the world, and that can happen. Jesse says Aerys came to see his son's first football game. So, but Aerys did come. Tony makes a good point. This was huge, especially if we go to kind of what I was talking about a little earlier, where maybe Rhaegar was the one that funded this to kind of talk to everybody. We were all kind of generally agreed that might have been the case. Aerys's paranoia drove him there and probably helped plant the seeds for everyone to betray him later. Yes, we're going to get to it with the whole lyanna thing, but I think the revolution ultimately would have happened because of everyone seeing the king and how crazy he was in this moment. So Tony, it's really perfect you make sure you bring that up, because him showing up there, I think, is just as important to reason why everyone kind of galvanized, or half the land galvanized against him, because they saw him recently how flipping crazy he looked.
Real quick, I want to go back to Gray Area's question of has the tide of winds a winder. I got an answer. Here's one. There's going to be many reasons, but Tone, like you were saying, the whole thing about Barristan and his love for Ashara Dane, right? I think we're all in agreement that Ashara Dane is Septa Lemore, right?
Yep.
So Barristan, part of his memory is wrong. He thinks that she killed herself because she was dishonored, right? Turns out she's alive. Not only is she alive, she's sailing in his direction. Where did she leave off, right? So imagine that they run into each other early. Oh, hopefully they see each other before he dies, if he dies over there. Oh,
exactly. See, Gray's trying to come in here and be slick. You know what I mean? The backhanded compliment. I'm over here big up in Shorty, and she's trying to get the back. This is what happens. This is what happens. This is the plight of the Don Tony Teflon and everything else. Yeah. So let's talk real quick before we get into all that laughing tree. Why did the Mad King Aerys come? We know that Varys is the one who convinced him to go. Why did Varys convince him to go?
I think because he exactly what I just said. I think he wanted everyone to see him like that, so it could help push along Rhaegar being the person in charge. So everyone would see that the Mad King was so disheveled and needed to be usurped eventually. I think it was part of Varys' whole what's best for the realm shit, and what's best for the realm is everyone see how crazy this motherfucker is.
What about Bridge? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've never actually thought about it until today. But I would have to go with Phil, because there's two directions to go. Like, 'cause at times, like in the current storyline, Varys wants to keep things in control because he's not ready to get the Targaryens over, the Targaryen restoration. At that time, it's like, was he trying to keep it stable under Aerys, or was he also on board the fact that it needs to change? I'd like to think that he pulled a little finger, that he was sort of trying to cause chaos. I don't know, but more than likely, I don't know. It's so hard to determine, because until we see how crazy his reign was, like did he think it was better, more stable, just to keep the Mad King on the throne? Because at some point he's going to pass away, and Rhaegar's going to get the throne anyway. That's a huge gamble to try to depose of him before he dies naturally. You know what I mean?
I have to go the opposite way. I think he did it personally. I think he did it to stop Rhaegar from taking the throne. Because I
switched. I'm with you.
I think that he knew he needs a destabilized faction. As long as Mad King Aerys is there, if we got to go by Varys being a Blackfire, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't have the events that lead up to Fagon coming, but he still has to have a plan in the back of his head sent over there that somehow we have to get the Blackfires on the throne. If somehow this guy's on there, he makes hey, let's remove this guy and put a Blackfire. Look how crazy he is. You get Rhaegar back there, that Rhaegar's a capable king. It's harder to make people go against Rhaegar than it would be Mad King Aerys. So I think he knew the plan that Rhaegar was up to, and he said, nah, we got to get Rhaegar can't sit the throne. We can't have that. And I think Varys would have eventually tried to assassinate Rhaegar when it all came down to it.
Yeah, and to back up your point, Melinda in the chat said something nice. Varys was Aerys's man. We don't know how Rhaegar felt about Varys, but I suspect it wasn't great. So you guys are possibly right. I think both things would make sense, but I think it is important to explore why Aerys did decide to come.
I think we actually
Now,
Real
Kelly
quick,
does
I think we actually have three separate views. So you think that he was going there to sort of to create chaos so that Rhaegar come in. Tone, you think he wanted to keep Aerys so that because Aerys would create an opening eventually for Blackfyre's come in. I actually think I changed my mind. I think like Melinda was saying that he's sort of Aerys' man at this time. I think he sort of just wanted to keep the run would be the most stable just under Aerys, and let's keep it that way until he dies naturally. That's where I'm going to go for this point in time.
I hear Kelly Johnson saying for the Super Chat $2. What of the Jon Sansa Ashford Tourney theory? I don't know what that is.
I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not familiar with that.
I can do quick Googling on that one. Let me.
Yeah, but I if you hit me up another soup, we could talk about that. James Jared Jr. AIA says, "Yo, Tef, always great seeing you, my man." And Bridge 4, big up to Bridge. Thank you.
Oh, James Garrett Jr., what's up? yo, I think I'm gonna spitball this. This is coming back to me. The Ashford Meadow theory is that okay? There of the 7 people in the trial of 7, you have like I think it was House Plum or like of the different houses or something like that. I think Sansa may have been like engaged to someone from every house or I don't know. Okay, never mind. Take it back. It's something like that though. And basically the only one left would have been.
We're gonna do a stream on Sansa Stark.
Okay,
and we'll go through all the Sansa stuff right then and do what Alicia is saying right here. Give this a big thumbs up, man. Keep those thumbs up coming. The more thumbs up we get, the more YouTube pushes out, the more people we get up in here, man. So keep going. You know what I mean? Keep going. All right. So now we have established Mad King Aerys. Now we go into the Night of the Laughing Tree.
Yeah. So my question: who do you guys think is the Night of the Laughing Tree? Lyanna? Like that's who I kind of always thought it was, but I know there's a lot of different possible theories and thoughts about who that is. How about you guys? Who do you think the Night of the Laughing Tree is? What significance does it have, if any? Yeah,
real quick though, it is what I was mentioning. I forgot because one of the people in that tourney was Humphrey Harding, and so right now Sansa's in the Vale. There's Harry the Heir, Harry Harding. You had Tyrion Lannister, Harry Harding, Willis Tyrell, and Joffrey Baratheon. And in that tourney, you had Lionel Baratheon, Leo Tyrell, Tybalt Lannister, Humphrey Harding, and Prince Valor Targaryen. Yeah, so that's the theory, is that tourney had all the names that Sansa sort of been betrothed to or promised to. So what's left? I'm sorry. Yes. I think it is. What was the question? Oh, Lyanna Stark. 100% Lyanna Stark. I'm going to go another direction with it in a second. But what do you think, Todd?
Yeah, I don't think that there could be another direction to go. I think that everything this fits towards her. When we look at it, it says it's a knight with unfitted armor. It says it's someone who has a booming voice, like they projected their voice to sound like their voice didn't sound like this. They made their voice sound like this. You have the Howland Reed thing of Howland Reed getting beat up by these same people and her coming to their rescue earlier. I think that it's no doubt that it has to be her, and it really doesn't make any sense to me of it being anybody else.
Yeah, and also just in terms of jousting, like someone, I think it might have been Jamie that said it, or Jamie or Loras Tyrell. I think it was Jamie talking about Loras Tyrell, saying like jousting is like 90% how well you can ride a horse, and everyone knows Lyanna was one of the best at riding horses. Actually, there's a really great scene they cut from the show when Arya is first caught by the Brotherhood Without Banners. So she realizes, oh, what was his name? It was the kennel master's son, or the stable master's son, Harwin something. But anyway. So she's with them. All of a sudden, she realizes that she's a captor now with them. So she's with Hot Pie and she's with Gendry. But Arya just takes off on her horse and she's outrunning everybody. But then he catches up to her because he was the stable master's son up at Winterfell. He knew her, but he looked at her and he's like, "Wow, you're like almost good as your Aunt Lyanna," because she was like half horse herself. But yeah, so she was really good at riding horses. So she won the joust for that reason. Won those 3 jousts for that reason.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down. That's the reason why. You know what I mean? They stressed the fact that she was good at a horse, and as you said, jousting is 90% horse race. There was a show that came out called Steel Lance Jousting. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It was only out for 1 season, and it was like they jousted with steel lances. These guys.
What?
It was like a reality show. Oh, it's nuts. And no one's seen that show. Like I don't know the exact name of it. It's like Steel Lance Jousting. It was, but yo, these dudes are getting knocked unconscious. Like it was terrible. Like these dudes are getting hit. So if you ever didn't see jousting, like that's the closest I guess you would ever see like realistic jousting, because these guys really did it with steel lances instead of wood, because the wood would break and hurt people. They did it with steel. yo, these people are getting knocked out with these lances. It was terrible. Like, that's why I think it went off the air so fast. But check out that show if you can. If you're interested in watching people actually joust. It's a very dangerous sport.
So I'm going to go a little tinfoil here, and there's one other thing I want to say about lyanna. I'll let you guys go after me, but and I'll get back to that. But the one tinfoil thing I'd like people in the chat to mention. So it's in A Storm of Swords when Bran and his whole company, they're going north, so they're going up the hills. That's actually when Mira was like, "I'm tired of these hills," and Bran's like, "You just said you loved them." She's like, "Oh, yeah, I can. Like, if ice can burn, then love and hate can mate." Like, she likes the hills and she hates them. But around that time. Oh, that's when she tells him the story. She tells Bran the story about. She's like, "You didn't know the story about the Night of Laughing Tree?" She's so confused because her father, Howland Reed, had told her the story. This is actually when we learn about it the most in the books, aside from the World of Ice and Fire. But so she tells him the story. Now, when she starts telling him the story, Hodor comes into the scene and he starts like listening really intently. So a very tinfoil theory is that how did lyanna? Because it's really hard to put on armor. How did lyanna put on her armor? I think Hodor had a huge crush on lyanna from back at Winterfell, and he's the one who secretly put the armor on her. It's tinfoil.
I think that sounds good. I like that because
like
it's hard to put armor on. Like when you see people every time you always see people had to have help, and Hodor knowing something else, and I believe because even when they show like Hodor, in Game of Thrones, and you see the way he reacts to lyanna, you could see that he had like a crush on her.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, that's right.
Why would they put that in there unless George told them something about it? So I think that with everything else, and listen to Red Lipstick Club.
Oh, thank you.
Listen to her. 100 and over 120. We got 125 people here watching. Hit the like and subscribe.
I also wonder to laugh with the night if Rhaegar recognized her somehow and knew it was her, and that led into why he did what he did at the end of presenting her with that crown. Like, you're the true winner here for stealing the show.
That's another reason I think 100% has to be here, because my sort of story revolves around a story about Jorah and his wife too, and how Jorah was sort of I forget what the word is, but he fell in love with like a girl. She was from what, like Lysenia or something like that. She sort of looked Valyrian. She looked like Daenerys Targaryen. But anyway, Jorah fell in love with her. But when Jorah's telling the story to Dany, he tells her how, like, he's like, on any given day, like anyone can win. Or Barristan actually saying this, but Jorah basically told her that like on that day, it was like I just loved her so much that I pushed through and I won that tourney and I was able to crown her the Queen of Love and Beauty, and then we got married. It ended up backfiring for Jorah because she was just a gold digger. That's what I was looking for. But that story of Jorah is very similar to the story, I believe, of Rhaegar. I think it's a nod to basically Rhaegar and lyanna, that Rhaegar completely fell in love with her. And it's not for it's not for actually winning those horse things, the joust, whatever. It's for the fact that like he found her. He's the one who actually saw, like, because he was sent out to capture her. And he said I couldn't find her, but in theory he did find her. He found out it was her, and then he found out the full story. And he's like, oh my god, this girl, like, A, she's beautiful, B, she's like a badass, and C, she's brave and she's honorable. I think he just fell head over heels in love with her, and that sort of love parallels Jorah winning his tourney. Rhaegar then went on to crown his love of Queen and Beauty. So for me, it wasn't about prophecy, it wasn't about politics. It was straight just a love story. He just fell head over heels in love with lyanna.
I agree with you partially. So I do believe he might have loved her. But I do believe, I think he knew his wife at the episode. So what we're talking about is that the Mad King, when he seen the Night of the Laughing Tree, she had a weirwood, a picture on her shield, and when he seen that, he thought that the weirwood shield was laughing at him. For some reason, he got an image in his head that it was laughing at him. So what that is that to me is the last, if you want to call it Blood Raven, because he's the one sitting there, but it really isn't Blood Raven. It's the last Green Seer sending these thoughts and these dreams to this guy to make him go crazy, to make him think that shield is laughing at him, because there's no delusion that we hear about the guy having at this particular time. So the only reason I would think he would have that is because someone's sending those thoughts to him. You got to remember, they're very close to the Isle of Faces, so it wouldn't be hard for this to be done. He thinks he's laughing at him. That's why he sends Rhaegar, because he wants Rhaegar to go, because he understands the whole White Walker prophecy while sitting in that tree. And he understands that they have to get together in order for Jon Snow to be created, for this whole thing that to come true. So Rhaegar does go, and I agree with you 100% that he does find her. But I do believe that when he's seen her in battle and seen what she did, and he may have said, "Yeah, you did a great thing here," but he realized that, hey, my wife is gonna die if she has another kid. I have to have another kid. This is the woman I have to have it because this is the Song of Ice and Fire. And that's when he realized he had to do this with her at this particular time.
To your point, someone in the live chat, Kayfae Hinson, said, "Nah, I think Rhaegar is creepy. It's all about prophecy for him." And so Bridge, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so granted, a lot of my takes on the story are like romantic, not in like the date romantic, but in like the, like fairy tale, like romantic type interpretations, just because I'm a hopeless romantic or whatever. I'm sap. But like my take on prophecy is that like Rhaegar literally spent his life chasing prophecy, and it came to fruition when he finally stopped chasing, and he stopped and just tasted the peach, and that's when prophecy actually came to fruition.
I'm with you on, as I said, I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of what you're saying, a little bit of what I'm saying, a little bit of what the chat's saying. Yeah. I think we all have a little bit of the story there, and everything. But the bottom line is, we all agree that he did find her.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
Probably undressing. And I would say this, listen, George R. R. Martin, and I'll say this, he said this himself. So I'm not trying to say the man's not a great writer, because he does put the word to papers. But he said this in a quote himself. He said, if you take from one person, it's stealing or plagiarizing. If you take from multiple people, it's called research. And let's just say I do a lot of research, right? So if you deal with that, and he named, there was a movie out there. I did a video on this a long time ago, and people, you can check this movie out if you can. I mean, this video I did a long time ago, and it's called something like Game of Thrones and Dragon Slayer. The movie's called Dragon Slayer, and Vermax is the dragon in Dragon Slayer.
Wow,
and
really?
He named his dragon after this dragon. Also, if you look at that movie in Dragon Slayer, the main villain in it, his name is Tyrion. And there's a woman in that show, in that movie, who dresses up as a man and pretends to be a man the whole time until she's revealed to be a woman at the end. Oh. So I do believe that he fell in love, because I watched that movie and I love that movie. I think he did too. And I think he took elements from that movie, and that woman was a really good fighter. I think he took elements of lyanna with Arya, and use all those things. And there's no way that he would name that dragon the same dragon name unless he watched that movie. There's no way he would name, and that's where he got the name Tyrion from too. And if you look more at the things, if you watch my video, I put all of the things that are exactly the same that he used from that movie. And there's a bunch of them. It's not just that. There's a whole bunch of, but Dragon Slayer is a really good movie. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, watch Dragon Slayer. You'll see that he took a lot of stuff from that Dragon Slayer and put it in the Song of Ice and Fire universe.
Just to offer up the alternate perspective in the chat, Mark B says Rhaegar was an artist with his harp and singing. No way he was a soulless man only seeking prophecy. He fell for Lyanna's beauty and badness. And Kayfae says, my first comment got a reaction. Anyway, prophecies are dangerous. Egg got it wrong at Summerhall as well. We'll be talking about Summerhall a little later in a different context, but yes, Egg did get it wrong at Summerhall somehow. For sure.
Kelly Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Says, could DMX and the Rough Riders win the tourney of Harrenhal? I think you asked me this before, and I'll say it just like Wesley Snipes said it before. Always bet on black. That's my motto. I always bet on black. So yes, Rough Riders, rest in peace, DMX, baby.
A couple people in the chat saying they've seen Dragon Slayer, love that movie. Julia said that, and Maud Mary as well.
Listen, I used to watch Dragon Slayer multiple times when I was a child, and I'm telling you, watch it, and you'll be like, oh, he took it for the, oh, he took this. Everything. There's so many things in there about that. It's a really good movie for the time that it came out, and at the time, I think it was made by Disney. That it was one of the most expensive movies Disney ever made when they came out with it and stuff like that. It just didn't blow up like it should have, and I think that's due to the lead. They didn't pick the right lead for it and stuff, you know what I mean? But definitely check that movie. Yeah, he took a lot of things from that movie, and check out my video that I did on it because I did it, and I point out all those things that he took from. He made the name the same. Dragon has the exact same name. That's just not a coincidence, man. That's not like the name's not like it's Mark. All right,
Mark the Dragon.
Real quick. So, in terms of the love versus prophecy versus politics angle, like I think that when he crowned her the Queen of Love and Beauty, I think that was like that was the moment he just stopped and tasted the peach and he fell in love with her. I do think that prophecy comes back into play though in terms of their relationship because. Correct me if I'm wrong. So again, this will go back to something I've mentioned in past streams, how I truly believe that Jon Snow's name in the books is going to be Aegon for a very specific reason. So at first Rhaegar is reading the scrolls and he thinks that he is going to be the prince that was promised, right? Then something made him change to think that his son was. I think that literally there's a scroll somewhere that says that the prince who was promised is named Aegon, right? So that he changed to thinking that it was his son. Then he realized, or no, maybe that it started out thinking it was his son. Then he started thinking it was himself. One or the other. But eventually he realizes that it's not. It's his son, the Song of Ice and Fire. So I think he falls in love with Lyanna naturally, and then all of a sudden realizes like, oh my God, this is actually what's going to happen. Like this is how I have the Lightbringer, the sword in the darkness, the prince who was promised. And so that in effect, he basically told Lyanna, like, name that child Aegon because Aegon's going to be the prince who was promised.
Yeah, I do believe that because you see it like when Danny has the vision, he says when his son's being born, he says it right in there. The dragon has 3 heads, and he says, "Are you going to write a song for him?" Because he has a song, and the song is the Song of Ice and Fire, and he knows. I think at that particular time he has to somehow fulfill that song. He's fire, Lyanna's ice. That's what it is, and I think that's the way it goes when it comes to that. I'm gonna somehow fulfill that song. Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, to get back to the tournament, I mean, we can get into all the particulars of the tournament, but I think the tournament itself could be a whole other podcast as we get more information about the tournament. So to get to the important part about Robert's rebellion in the tournament, Robert, someone said, where do we read he won? Bridge corrected that, and he didn't win. He someone else won the melee. Robert was there, didn't do too well in the joust probably, or was drinking. I think the next important part to talk, we've already talked a lot about it, but is the point where the Rhaegar beats Barristan. I believe he beats Barristan and presents the rose to Lyanna. I mean, we've already talked a lot about this, but I think that's the last really important part for Robert's rebellion about Harrenhal. And I think most people in the chat have been like prophecy or love. Bridge, do you seem like you want to go into fun?
I just want to add in something about that moment that it happened when he crowned her. It's said that Robert Baratheon like laughed when it happened. Like a lot of people were, that was the moment. What was it, Tone? You know the quote. It was something about the moment that like all the smiles ended or something, right? Was that it?
Yeah, all the smiles stopped at that particular time.
And then it goes on to mention Robert, and it's like Robert sort of laughed it off, but no, he was pissed.
He was pissed, yeah.
Yeah, well, listen. Look at it. Why wouldn't you be? You have the Targaryen, crown prince, who just happens to be the best singer. Like Ricky Martin. He's the best singer of them all. Right? He's got everything, and now you got everything.
Ricky
and you try to take my girl too. On top of you win the tournament, and now you want to take my girl too, motherfucker? Why wouldn't I be upset if I was him? He had every right to be upset.
The question, definitely every right to be upset, and we're gonna get to there eventually as we move past the tournament eventually. But like, does the revolution happen if what Aerys did to the Starks doesn't happen? If even if Lyanna's kidnapped, and I mean, I know I'm moving too far ahead, but it's a question I kind of will look at as we get towards there. Okay, this happened, it pissed off Robert, but if all that was done was the Lyanna stuff, would everyone have been like, okay, Robert, she just doesn't love you, move on, it's okay, dude? Like, would it have been a rationale to start a war? But it is the first foundation moment that kind of led it down that direction. I think no matter what, a revolution against Aerys was going to happen at some point. And I think to Tony's point earlier, him being there was the seed that got planted in all these lords of Westeros that saw what kind of a friggin' dude he looked like at that point in time,
Can I just throw out something just completely random, because we haven't really spoken about Jaime. I think you briefly mentioned it, Phil, how Mad King Aerys gets there, and then he's effectively he knights Jaime to like the Kingsguard, and like, as a little boy, that had to have made Jaime like so happy. But it wasn't until later that Jaime realized like, oh, he was just taking away Tywin Lannister's heir, right? Like, Aerys is a scumbag. But the one thing I wanted to say that it's a very small factor, but it's something, I guess Jaime's my favorite character. I got to throw this out there. So Pia, one of Jaime's like redemption arc, if you want to call it that, like when Jaime's traveling through the Riverlands in A Feast for Crows, he's a really good dude in his heart, at least the way I see him. He takes care of Pia, like he beats someone for hitting a woman or whatever. But Pia was she was a young girl at the Tourney of Harrenhal. She told Jaime, because she meets back up with him in the current storyline, but she tells Jaime that she was a kid and she saw him when he got his white cloak. And then she also, this is funny, she tells him that sometimes, like throughout these years, so that's been like 16 years or whatever, she's like, sometimes when I'm with a man and he's on top of me, I pretend it's you on top of me, Jaime.
I will say this, that Robert Baratheon should not have won this rebellion. There's 6 different times that I could point out why he should have lost. Number 1 is this moment right here. The Mad King, by doing this final swipe to Tywin, really cost his family everything. If his pride, where he would have just kept his pride in lock and key and didn't knight Jaime Lannister to the King's Guard at that time, there's no way Robert Baratheon wins this rebellion. That's number one strike that cost him. This was the strike that truly cost him his family's head and his own self being killed. If he never did this,
great point.
It's no way possible for Robert to have won this war. Robert would be dead. The Starks would be dead. They would have all been dead. The Targaryens would have kept ruling.
Can I ask you a question? That never clicked to me for some reason, and obviously that's a huge factor. At this point, Tywin was still the hand of the king, right? This is what Tywin resigned his hand of the king shortly after this, right?
Yep.
Pretty soon after that, yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And then Arryn started killing Hands of a King. By the time the point came at the end where everything was down, it was like the B-level guy, it was like the assistant coach, like the trainers advising him like with basketball strategy. It was like really bad down there on the bench. But yeah,
wait. I want to pause for one more second. You are absolutely right. This is the moment he lost the war, because that's when Tywin left him. If he had Tywin, there's no way they could have sacked King's Landing.
No, it's impossible. No. It's impossible. Yeah. They definitely would have won. This was it. This moment cost his family and himself his life and his family's life, and lost the war with this one move he did, this last swipe towards Tywin.
And Eric regretted it right afterwards, and through the whole time never really trusted Jaime either. He's like, I even knew he kind of made a mistake. If I remember some of the stuff we've heard about his thoughts of that after the fact, he's like, yeah, now I always have to deal with Tywin's son behind me at all times, which was a good foreshadowing to what eventually happens. So yeah, and then he kept pushing Jaime, kill your father, do this. Like he wouldn't leave it alone. He could have just sent Jaime out to deal with people, sent Jaime on a suicide mission or something like that once he did it, but he couldn't do that either. Like his paranoia was just, so Tony's point, and that's a great video that you put out. I don't know if you want to link that one in the chat too, but Tony put out a video about the reasons why Robert should have lost the war, something to that effect. Great. I remember watching it at a point in time.
Yeah, I did that video a while back too. Why he should have, and that's my number one point of why he would have lost that war. I'll see if I can find that link, but I will say about the link I just put in there. I don't know if y'all could actually click on it. I just put it on from StreamYard. If it's clickable on YouTube and stuff, when I put it on, I'm not sure.
It was for me when I saw it. It was for me.
All right, cool. But I will say that if you watch that, you will see green fire in that movie too. Like in that movie, there's green fire, there's a burning sword, all that stuff that you see from in the show is all in that Dragon Slayer movie. You'll see all that stuff go down in there.
So wait, hold on. I just saw someone in the chat mention, like, did Tywin set it up? Because when you guys asked me earlier about like the money with Harrenhal, I've always sort of toyed with the idea that was Tywin partially behind that as well. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I think that Tywin would want Rhaegar on the throne, because Rhaegar turned down Cersei and slighted him. Though it wasn't Rhaegar or the king. I think it was both of them.
You're right.
Because I think if Rhaegar really wanted to marry her, he would have did it. You know what I mean? So I don't think he wanted him there.
Oh, nice.
Rhaegar wouldn't have kept Tywin as his hand. Rhaegar would have got rid of Tywin.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
So just to give people in the chat some quick backstory, is that I think it was Stefford Lannister, right? It was Robert Baratheon's father, him, Tywin Lannister, and Aerys before Aerys was king, when Aerys was still a prince. Like the three of them were like three amigos. They were boys fighting in like the War of the Five Kings. It was around the time of the Blackfish or whatever. But I think the three of them were like really, really good. Yeah, because Aerys and what was Stefan Lannister? Aerys and Stefan Lannister were they, cousins? Is that what it was? Like they were family. Plus you layer in Tywin, who was like really close in age with them too. Yeah. That's just so sad that like their relationship just soured so much over the years. They were boys.
We got Victor Yan watching from live here from Brazil. Thank you, Victor, for checking out the live stream.
Brazil, that's great. I love Brazil. I love the Brazilian people and the women and the way they're shaped.
Will in the live chat saying Tony T blew my mind tonight. Exactly, Bridge. I said this earlier. Tywin at one point did say that Rhaegar would be a better king. I agree that he would think that Rhaegar would be a better king. So I think Tywin would have, the way he handled the war, what would have happened if Rhaegar won that battle in the Trident? I know we're not quite there, but another speculation. Would Tywin have taken the side of Aerys in that moment when he got to King's Landing? I think he was being a little Walter Frey in the battle because he had no loyalty at that point.
I want to talk about that battle, but I don't want to go into too much about it. But I will say, when you come down to the Tower of Joy, when you go to that point, they specifically they tell you, listen, if we were on the Trident, we win that.
Yeah, your ass loses.
Like it's done. Yeah. The only reason y'all won that, this is another reason why Robert Baratheon should have never won. If Rhaegar would have just said, listen, I'm bringing Sir Arthur Dayne and my people with me, it's over. He wins. But he just overthunk it. And that was it. Because they say specifically, it's over. He almost won that without them there. But with all those dudes, and Sir Arthur Dayne would have chopped them all down. It would have never came down to Robert and Rhaegar. Because Sir Arthur Dayne would have gotten away and said, you're going to have to go. Because if you ever play video games, and maybe y'all play, especially role-playing video games, you always realize in those games, the guy before you fight the boss is always harder than the boss himself. That's the way they're always set up. Before you get to him, the guy before him is always better. So if Robert would have tried to charge at Rhaegar, Sir Arthur Dayne would have been there like, you're gonna have to go through me first. And he probably doesn't win that battle.
I mean, even just in numbers, after Robert beat Rhaegar, they still probably might have been able to win that battle, but they all just were like, our leader's gone. So if you add those, how many are there in the books? 3 in the show 2. Like people onto the battlefield, see what you saw even just in the show with what he could do in fighting off all Ned's men. Imagine that on the battlefield. Tony's right. That guy would have destroyed. He says it.
Imagine that next to Barristan Selmy.
Yeah.
You gotta look at that team, man. That's too good, man. It's too much. Yeah. If you put him, Barristan Selmy, and the rest of those cats right next to each other.
That's Kareem, James Worthy, Magic Johnson all on the same team. Yeah, you can't beat the 87 Lakers. You just can't. They're too good.
It's too much. That's why he says, "Woe's to you." If we were on that battlefield, it would have been over. The only reason we lost is because he forced us to stay here. If he didn't force us to stay here, y'all asses would have been kicked, and Rhaegar would have won, and everyone else would have been dead. And that's it. That's another reason I put in that video, if y'all watch it, why Robert Baratheon should have lost. That he should have fucking lost that fucking battle. He fucked himself on that Rhaegar.
I thought there were 3 at the Tourney Harrenhal. There was Oswald. I thought there were 3. Geralt Hightower, Sir Arthur Dayne, and Went.
Someone in
the chat said it was 4, not 2, 3 to me. But I thought it was 3. I thought it was 3. I could be missing one in my mind.
What was 7 verse 3? Or 7 verse 4. But that's later on. We can talk about that later.
We
got a lot to go before we even get
a lot to move on here. And another interesting point to put out there of between the 3 of them, Mad King Aerys, Rhaegar, and Robert, who would have been the best king of the 3? Rhaegar, right? Like, I mean, if we're to see what happened with Robert after the fact, the speculation would be that Rhaegar would probably have been the best king, and I think maybe Tywin would have been able to suss that out to a certain extent, where Robert was too young. So I think if Rhaegar wins that battle, Tywin definitely goes to Aerys' side and or Rhaegar's side. Maybe they go and overthrow the king anyway. Maybe they show up at King's Landing with together and decide to make take the Mad King out because of what he did with the Starks is just unacceptable. Who knows?
It could definitely go down either way. We'll talk about all that when we get to it. I know people, thank you for all dropping by. AK's here, Regina Great's here. We got a bunch of people here, over 130 people watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up for your boy and keep the people coming in. You know what I mean? As long as the thumbs up is in there, more people will come in and everything else and stuff. So
Tony,
definitely keep it coming in and stuff like that. We here, we trying to do this for y'all every week. Same time and everything else, but we need the support,
Tony,
in order to continue doing it.
I guess to move past the tournament, there's a couple of other things that happen in between the next big event that we talk about. Somewhere after the tournament is when Peter challenged Brandon to the fight and got slashed up. But then in the next year, essentially, if we're going by a basic timeline, I guess the next thing to talk about, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there's anything I'm missing in here, would be the abduction of lyanna, or near where Harrenhal, the abduction of lyanna. What is the information we actually know about that? She was out somewhere near Harrenhal or something, and that's where she disappeared. Bridge, do you want to talk a little bit about Lyanna's abduction?
I'll look it up. I know that she might have been at River Run, actually. So
a lot of people think, I think the number one thing is that a lot of people think that it happened like right after the tourney, and it didn't.
It was a year or so after.
Yeah, maybe it didn't happen. So I don't know if Rhaegar, how they were communicating this whole time. To do it, it's really the mystery to me. Like, how is that going on? How is it jumping off the whole time? Was he sending secret ravens to her? What did he have? Because she didn't just get a whim.
Talking through a tree? Was Blood Raven talking through a tree?
Was he sending smoke signals in the air to her? And then she seen the smoke signals and she knew that meant, all right, let me move. That had to be somehow he was communicating with her that whole time to say, hey, this is the day I'm going to be there to bag you up, shorty. Be ready.
Or a bag,
get your luggage ready, pack light, all right, because we got to be out. And that's what it is and stuff. And this is another reason why Robert shouldn't have won, because none of this should have ever happened. And that's why I really have to blame this. When I blame the whole Robert's rebellion happening, yes, the Mad King had everything. A lot of people had a lot of things, but Ned Stark's father has to have number one blame status. It's his fault that this happened.
Yeah. Well, I think Brandon. To me, it was Brandon.
I don't think it's Brandon, because this is the reason why. So Brandon gets word he's about to get married to Kat. He gets word his sister is adopted, and then instead of doing that, he runs off and he goes off to confront who he thinks Rhaegar is going to be there, but he doesn't realize he's not there. But he goes off to because he hears the rumor that his sister was abducted. Listen,
and then he goes to the house and starts yelling outside the door, like, "Hey, you!
Yeah,
my girl!" Like, come on, dude.
His father had to know that she wasn't abducted. That she wasn't kidnapped. There's no way his father doesn't know that. There's no way that his father believes that his daughter was actually kidnapped by the crown prince. This is not a hedge knight. It's not Sir Duncan the Tall. This is the crown prince. And knowing who Lyanna is, right? It's Lyanna. She's a wild wolf woman. That some guy can just come there and kidnap her and be cool with it. It's not happening, because you would have to kill her in order to rape. That's just not the way it's gonna go down. This cat knew, and he didn't tell his son the deal. Hey, be easy, son. Don't go running out there like a madman. You know what I'm saying? He shouldn't have went out there like that. His father should have told him the deal, but instead he allowed his son to go out there like a madman, which cost them both their lives.
So I'll say two things though, because like AK saying, or someone in the chat was saying, I think it was Phil early in the stream. Like Eddard Stark was still up north, so he wasn't in this whole setting. I looked it up. Brandon Stark was on his way to River Run when he found out the news, and she was 10 leagues from Harrenhal apparently when she was abducted. But for me, it has to be like, So it has to be that no one knew about it for one. It doesn't have to be, but like the reason I think that people think she was abducted is because it's sort of a nod to like Bale the Bard and the Rose of Winterfell up north. Like women in the story, you know, the lowborn people have it the worst of all, but women in the story, and even highborn men have it crappy too, because they're young princes are forced to marry people they don't want to marry, but young women especially have it bad because not only are they forced to marry people by their fathers, they're sold like brood mares. Like Tywin sold Cersei like a brood mare, and what's his name, Hoster Tully sold Lysa Arryn like a brood mare. He sold Catelyn Stark like a brood mare. That one ended up working out well, but Rhaegar Stark wanted to marry Lyanna to Robert, and she didn't want to be with him, but she had no choice because she's just a brood mare. So to me, like she had to escape without anyone knowing about it. And that's sort of like the point of the story is that like women are just sold like brood mares. They're abused. It's such a crappy system.
And that's true. But what's going down to it though, Lyanna was in Harrenhal, right? How did Lyanna get down there? And to think that she went down there, the father didn't know that she was going down there.
Well,
I mean, she didn't tell her father, "Hey, I'm going to Harrenhal. I didn't go anywhere."
I'm pretty sure it was for Lady Cat's, Lady Cat's wedding to Brandon Stark. I think that's when this all went down. So why
would she go all the way down to Harrenhal? That's way past where she had to go to that wedding.
Isn't Harrenhal on the way to River Run? I thought.
From south. I mean, from the north, Harrenhal is all the way down by King's Landing. They're at the north. They're at the north.
When you come down past the neck, I think you hit the twins, first the twins. I think then you hit Harrenhal and then you go west of Harrenhal to get to River Run. I think. Don't quote me on that.
Harrenhal is at the bottom of the map. That's all the way down by King's Landing.
If anyone in the chat has a link to a good Westeros map, send me the chat and I'll.
So if she was at Harrenhal, there's no way that there's no reason for her to be all the way down there. You know what I mean? You have to go through the whole 7 kingdoms to get down that whole motherfucker. You know, and I just don't know if she was at Harrenhal. I don't know if that's the case. Because if she was, then there's no way the dad don't know that she goes the fuck down there.
So at the crossing of like the fork at Lord Harroway's town, so ultimately it just depends on how do you ride south from the north. If you ride south on the east of the river, then you're going to come down and around. And Harrenhal's not too much to the south before you head west over to River Run. If you come down, like remember Robb Stark's army split into 2 with Roose Bolton coming down the east, Robb coming down the west. If you crossed the river of the twins and then came down the west, then you go straight to River Run. But I think most times at the King's Road, I'm pretty sure runs down east of the river. So you would hit Harrenhal on your way to River Run if you go through the King's Road. I'm pretty sure.
No, that Harrenhal is all the way at the bottom, bro. I just don't think that you come from the north at all. To get Harrenhal past King's Landing, it's close to Dorne. It's by
No. It is more. I'm looking at a map right now. It is southern of River Run, but it's southeast of River Run just by a little bit. It's still in the same sort of area. It wouldn't make sense. She would have had to take an extra turn though, because if you're coming from the north going down, you are going to go right to River Run. You would have had to go east at some point, I think. And the map
the river's huge, so unless you cross it, unless you cross at the twins, that's the only way you're going to get.
So we got Jon Snow's. Let's get a map going on here, Westeros, real quick.
Yeah. So basically, though, what I'm going to get at is that unless you cross to the twins, you can't get across that river, really. You know what I mean? Well, I guess you could. There's barges and stuff, but really, normally people come down to I forget Harrow's town or whatever. I think Sander crossed at one point and like it was all flooded during. But like that's where people would cross because that's where there's a barge. So you come down south, and then Harrenhal's not really. She was 10 leagues from Harrenhal. She may have been 10 leagues north of Harrenhal. So that's where he ran into her on his way over to River Run. Or I don't know. Sorry, that's different.
All right. So Harrenhal, from looking at the map here, it's by the salt pans by Maiden Pool. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for.
So one thing is interesting, and I was making a joke about it earlier while Tony's looking that up, was about who was telling Lyanna. If we were to think that maybe Bloodraven had some sort of motion, he could have been talking to
if she went to River Run, she would have had to go all the way to the east to come down towards Harrenhal.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
like she would have had to come. So she would have went through the twins. She would have came that. She would have had to cross the twins crossing. Come all the way down from the north, past River Run, and then all the way down to Harrenhal.
But that's
So-
the King's Road. Everyone takes the King's Road south, and the King's Road stays east of the River Mander. Which is a huge river.
So if she was there and she was going down to her brother's wedding, and that was the excuse for her to head down there towards that, then she would have said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going down to meet up with Brandon and them." But instead, she didn't go down and meet up with Brandon and them. She made that turn and went straight. But Brandon was already at down there. Wouldn't he say, "Hey, where's my sister? She ain't made it yet"?
Well, he didn't get to River Run. Supposedly, he found out that she was abducted on his way to River Run.
So she was ahead of him?
Well, no. He had sex with Catelyn first, right? So he was down there. He had sex with Catelyn before they got married, right?
I don't think they could have.
He did have sex with her before.
No,
listen, she knew. So this goes into the theory that the kids that Robb Stark is Brandon's son, and a theory that I believe in that I think is true. I don't think that Brandon Stark is Ned Stark's son. I think it's Brandon's son. So he has sex with her and he leaves. I believe he has sex with her. It's already said that before. He was there first, and then he leaves. He was already there, and then he bounces from there and everything. And I think that while he was there, he had sex with her. Why wouldn't she have sex with him? You know, why wouldn't she have sex? And Brandon is a guy that we know. We've already talked about that he's the Pepe Le Pew of Westeros. And Lady Dustin already said that he loves to see a maiden's blood on his sword. So it'd be no disrespect for Catelyn to have sex with a person that she is betrothed to have married, is about to be married to. And she was in love with him and smitten with him and everything else. So I believe he has sex with her. And then he leaves there and coming back because he's supposed to come back and marry her. I believe that is the Brandon Stark. And then he goes down to his father, find out. Bro, I could bring up.
I don't want to see. I know you love that theory. There's something I've been holding off because you've mentioned it on a couple streams.
Right ahead, Bridge.
I just don't want to. I never want to ruin it for you. But so there's two lines. Like there's one where Lady Cat. So there's one where Lady Cat, because you know how there's like, what is it called? The something narrator, the unreliable narrator, right? That exists within the story. So that'll potentially be your way out of what I'm about to say, is that she misremembers things. But at one point she thinks about how she conceived Robb Stark the first night she had sex, and then there's another point where she's thinking in her thoughts how she gave Ned Stark her maidenhead. So like, why she's not telling people this? She's thinking about it. So why would she misremember giving Ned Stark
there's
her
a difference between maidenhead and maidenhood, right? There's two different things, and you have to look at the word that she uses at that particular time when she says it. I had to have the whole theory in front of me and know everything else, but
okay,
you have to look at that time. But she says straight up. She said in the quote that she gives, you know, when she thinks of Brandon, she thinks of Robb. She thinks of it as her son. She says specifically that that's her son. She doesn't think of it as Ned Stark's son. And she's talking about all the other kids at that particular time, too, the quote says. But when the quote goes through, she says her son, not Brandon's son. And then she says, I hope he grows up to be as tall as his father and everything else. We know for a fact that Ned Stark is not even considered to be tall, but Brandon is considered to be tall, much taller than Ned and everything. So when you look at that, I would have to really go through the theory to point out everything, and I don't really know it truly offhand at this particular time. But there's a lot of things that she points out when she's thinking that points to that not being Ned Stark's son. And that's why she was so willing to marry Ned at that particular time, because if she had sex with Brandon before, then it would be no problem if she was pregnant. You know what I mean? That way she wouldn't get caught that she was being pregnant, because Brandon was the baby's father already. So that's why she was so quick to do it and marry Ned.
Lord Dom Snow says it's getting too much Maury going on in this book right now.
Maury? Actually, in terms of Maury, I just want to add that I don't know where that passage is, but I know the passage you're speaking about, Tone. For me, she just mentioned that because it's actually an indirect reference to R. Plus J, because she's thinking about all the children, and she's like, not how Sansa and or how Robb looked like her, but all of them, actually all the children resembled her. They had like a little bit of like the reddish to their hair or whatever, but and the different color eyes, whatever. But the only two people that looked like Ned the only two people that look like Ned are Arya and Jon Snow. So in her head, that sort of fills in that theory that Jon is Ned's son. But in reality, it's that it's also mentioned that Jon Snow that Arya looks like Lyanna Stark. So that implies that if Ned looks like Arya and Arya looks like Lyanna, then Lyanna and Ned look alike, and thus it's really an R plus L equals J clue, an indirect one. That's what I take away from that.
It's that, but it doesn't mean it doesn't look like like it couldn't be Brandon's son because they're from the same bloodline. I would say this real quick. So it says right here, right? Brandon saw Peter and he only wore a helm and breastplate and mail. He took off his armor. Brandon was more than a match for the younger Peter. He offered the boy several chances to yield, but Peter kept refusing. Brandon ended up dueling and injuring Peter severely. Afterward, he departed Riverrun, promising Catelyn to return soon before they could wed. So he was there for a long time, hanging out in Riverrun.
Right, kicking shit out of Littlefinger.
After that, from Riverrun, Brandon left and joined his father's wedding party coming down from the north. So he left already, and then he got back with his dad, and then he came down. When they were on their way to go to Riverrun for the wedding of him and her. So it was on that ride back while he was with his father
that he got word.
He realized that he got word that Lyanna was abducted by Rhaegar.
And then they just decided to turn and go straight towards King's Landing.
So Brandon then goes with his people and says, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm going down to King's Landing to confront this man. When his father could have prevented that from happening and told him not to do it. Okay. But his father didn't say that. His father let his hothead son just go down there and do that with a couple of men, which was a stupid thing for him to do. And if he was any father, he should have told him, don't do that. You're going to get yourself killed.
And then he doubled down stupid by going down there himself after the fact, knowing that he's probably walking into a death sentence himself. I mean, I understand going down to try to save your son at that point, but like, at that point, I guess we're to this point where we talk about this, but like when he goes down there, he's got to know what's going to happen, right? Like he's not that dumb. The oldest Stark, the Rickard Stark, isn't that dumb that he doesn't realize the Mad King's going to kill him too, right? Or did you think he would actually get a chance to have a like?
Well, there's no doubt about. I mean, I'm like me and Bridge, we could have a whole side podcast about the birthright of it. But I have a video up there about Catelyn's secret. You could take a look at it. I think it's called Catelyn's Secret. I didn't come up with that theory. Let me just say that I agree with that theory. The person who did come up with that theory is my good friend, my first ever partner that I ever did anything on YouTube with, and that is Bar del Porto. So it's her theory. I 100% agree with it. And if you listen to all the things that she lays down, I believe that I don't think it's even questionable that Rob is Ned's son. It's not Ned's son. I mean, but I can't give you everything, or it's not my theory. So I have a video on it. You could check it out. It's out there, but I could get you the link to her theory, where she even goes into more detail than I do, because she does like an hour-long thing on it. I only do like a 15-minute recap of it. So definitely check it out. And love Bar. Lots of love to Bar. Great. Well, I hope she's good right now in life and everything else.
And AK says, no, Phil, Northmen aren't really up on politics of the South versus what they know of North. Rickard went there with honor in his heart, not knowing that the South doesn't care. And in fairness, I guess Rickard didn't go to Harrenhal, so he didn't actually see the Mad King with his own eyes to realize how crazy and how far.
But you live in Westeros, right? You live in a place where people are getting filleted alive, right? You live in a place where people's heads are chopped off all the time. It's not a rumor that the Mad King burnt people. He was doing this before. It's from the first time he did it. So I would have to think that you know what you're walking into. It's a king. You've heard, this is not new. You've heard Maegor the Cruel. You heard all the lineage of all the Targaryen kings and all the bad stuff that happened. You knew about Dance of Dragons. There's so much things going. It's not like he's walking in there from Neverland and all of a sudden stepping on the Westeros. He's lived in Westeros his whole life. He knows what the hell is going on, goddamn, down there.
Now, Jackie C asks an interesting question I want to ask to both you guys here in the chat. How does anyone even know it was Rhaegar that left with Lyanna? Who were the witnesses? Is there any word?
There is none, right? that I know of.
So
And
how did that information get out?
I just don't know how Lyanna would be able to go by herself and do
Right.
that.
She had to have accompaniment, right? Someone had to have been guiding her down there. I know she's a bat, but like he wouldn't have sent his daughter down, allowed his daughter to go down the King's Road without at least.
Maybe it's Hodor. Maybe Hodor is the guy.
Yeah. So that way he can't say anything. All he can say is Hodor. That would be very convenient. All he can go is, where is she? Who'd she go off with? Hodor. Hodor.
Jess says, I think Benjen knew. It could have been. The whole thing is this. If they knew, and I don't understand why it would be a bad thing. Everyone says that Rhaegar Stark had Southern ambitions, they like to call it. And that's why he betrothed it. Well, this is the biggest Southern ambition of them all, right? You have the crown prince who marries your daughter. Why wouldn't you be down with that? Why wouldn't you say, oh, she stepped up. Robert Baratheon, fuck Robert. We got the crown. My daughter's going to be the queen of Westeros. You know, why wouldn't you go, if that was the case, why wouldn't he look at it like that?
Or one of his queens. He would have probably kept his Dornish wife as well. He would have had a couple of wives, I bet. Or no,
right? Why wouldn't he do that? And Lyanna would have been, and it's funny because Lyanna would have then been in the same situation she didn't want to be in with Robert. But she would have been in that exact same situation again if he did have multiple wives at that time.
Or maybe, I guess he got an annulment. Didn't we find that on the show that he?
In the show, he got an annulment. He left her to marry her.
Yeah, but
that's what we learned about.
The show's not canon.
The show is possibly you got to go with some things from the show. They didn't make everything up. Yeah. George told them the big details. George told them all that stuff is real. And
I tend to agree with that as well.
So we're talking about the deaths of. We're still going on the deaths of them, the abduction of Lyanna and the deaths of them. So I think we can. I think that it was. I'm blaming Rhaegar Stark at this particular time for allowing his son, the hothead, to go down there, knowing what his son. But you could blame it on wolf blood all you want, and everything else is a stupid move. And I think, I have to agree with the Mad King that he had every right to kill him for doing what he said. I think the Mad King had right. You can't go and threaten the prince's life and expect not to get killed for it. This is not the way it works in that type of society.
He should have given him a legitimate trial by combat instead of being like trial by combat, fire. You know that's the dick move. You know, was choosing.
Oh, I'm not saying, but he has the right to do it. It wouldn't have mattered. I don't think there's anyone that they would have been able to beat that was on site anyway. I think they would have got their asses kicked anyway. Especially would have been Rhaegar Stark would have got his ass kicked. You know what I mean? I don't know if he could have beat anyone that was there. So, you know, yes, it was a dick move. I'm not trying to deny the dick move. The fire wasn't a dick move, but I just think that when it comes down to it, you know, you should know better than to go to the king and call out the crown prince.
You're 100% correct on that. And AK, I agree with you. I still think Elia probably would have been cool with the whole Lyanna thing. The Dornish people are very open people. I'm sure he checked with her. That's what I'm saying. I'm sure she knew what he was doing. And he was like, listen, you know, you can't have any... I need another kid for this prophecy situation. I saw this girl. I need to go over here. I don't want to hurt you. I'll keep you in my life. I love my children. I'm sure there was some communication between the two of them.
We got I think Bird Lady in the building. I haven't seen her in a while. Thank you for stopping by. Go ahead, Bridge.
I just think I'm with you, Phil, but only if not about the prophecy part. I think Ilya would be cool with it if Rhaegar told her how he loved her, and Ilya would be like, all right, I get it.
I think it goes both ways. I think that if Elia was political, then she's cool with it because she's still queen. You know what I mean? And I think that if Rhaegar said, listen, this is the way my end, you know, they always like to go back and use history, you know, the Targaryens. And, you know, they always like the quote history. Rhaegar had 2 wives. You know, why can't I? You know, not Rhaegar, but Aegon had 2 wives. You know, this is the Targaryen thing. Why can't I have it? You know what I mean? So that's what it would be, you know what I mean? And as Regime is saying, man, we have a bunch of people here. We had over 150 people here 1 second ago. Hit that goddamn like button, man. I don't know how many likes we got, but if we have 150 people here, I expect 150 likes, man.
I see 146 watching and 144 likes. It's pretty damn good.
Perfect. Good.
All right, that's good then. We hold the thug mug up for you. Give you a toast for that one.
Honestly, actually, I meant to say this like an hour ago. God, at one point, like it's just been a long week, and I'm having just a really, and this is as of an hour ago. My opinion changed, but an hour ago, I was having such a good time talking with you two. Is everyone in the chat? Thank you for being here. This is so much fun every week.
Yeah, I agree. Bridge, I'm in a similar situation, and I don't no reason to get too like I have kind of a crappy week too. And it's good to come out here and be able to babble to you guys in the live motherfucking chat right now and talk about Game of Thrones because for me it's been a while to get into it. So I appreciate Tony forming the usual suspects and allowing us to come out here and chat about.
It is a great time. It's one of the highlights of my week, and I would say, in a personal note, I would say before we get back into it and stuff like that, I have told people that I do this show, and then they've watched this show, and I've never heard from them again. I mean, all right, but I don't give a fuck.
Wait, so you're saying like their takeaway is, oh my god, I didn't realize.
I can't do it. You need to get new friends.
I don't know what their takeaway is.
It's Bridge and I's fault, really.
I don't know what it is. I just know that that with next communication, it was blocked.
That's funny.
So, but it is what it is. I'm here. I don't care. This is my life. And you know what I mean? And I'm happy to spend the part of my life that I can with you guys because y'all my peoples and everybody in the chat. And if no one's willing to accept that part of my life, they need to keep stepping. And that's just the bottom line. It's just the way it goes, man. That's what it is. So
thank you, Mark.
We truly appreciate all the support that we get when we do this stuff. So I guess we have gone through so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more we can. I mean, we can keep talking about the abduction, but to save time and like, there's not really much else to say. She got abducted. The Starks got killed. Which again, and this is the question I want to ask again to you guys. If just that happens and Aerys doesn't call down to Jon Arryn and go kill Ned and Robert too, does Jon Arryn never rises up? So to the point of what starts Robert's rebellion, we're at that point now. It's really when Aerys yells at Jon Arryn, kill those two fucking kids. And that's when Jon Arryn says, no, fuck no, because there's a lot of things that started, but I look at it more as Jon Arryn started it. He was the one that basically, if he didn't do what he did, just Robert saying fuck this or Ned just saying fuck this wouldn't have done it. You needed Robert Arryn to say no to Aerys in that moment and really slam his fist down. So to this point of the question, what caused Robert's rebellion? I think Jon Arryn saying no to Aerys about killing Ned and Robert.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think they're still, they were definitely still there because, like I mentioned to you earlier before the stream started, the Robert has to fight there, and then Ned has to actually sail up to get back to Winterfell to rally his men. But it's interesting because, like you said, if their lives hadn't been threatened, would Ned have rallied his troops? Would Robert have rallied his troops? Because ultimately, somewhere in the story or the World of Ice and Fire, I forget where, somewhere it said that even though it's called Robert's Rebellion, it was actually kind of Jon Arryn's rebellion because he's the one who started it. He's the one who encouraged them. I forget where that's noted, though.
You're 100% right. It is Jon Arryn's rebellion. But the whole thing is that it was a rebellion that had to happen because, listen, either the rebellion happens or they're going to kill us. So he backed them into the corner where they had no choice. Now, what did he think? Did he think that people were just going to be like, you know what? All right, let's just die. Let's just die. Or we're going to fight back. Because that's basically the corner he backed them into. And he should have known better that, hey, this was going to happen if you did this thing. And, by killing Lord Rhaegar Stark, it gave the justification for them to actually go and do what they did. And still, even if they did, if he didn't knight Jaime Lannister and this still happens, he still wins. It comes back down to that situation that he still wins. He could did all this bad shit that he did. He could have burnt him. He could have let the other guy choke himself to death, put a sword down. He still wins if he didn't do that with Jaime Lannister. He wins and he wins easy. He blew it himself. Robert had no business winning this war. And, and they call it Robert's Rebellion because Robert sat his ass on the Iron Throne. But as you said, it's really Jon Arryn's rebellion. And that comes down to the Forster in that Jon Arryn must have really cared about them. When he must have really looked at them as like his own sons, and he didn't want his sons to get killed. So he's like, this is what we got to do in order to make this stick. we need the Tullys. Ned, you're gonna have to come up here and do the job. And Ned had to make it up there to do the job. So I think we talk about that.
Tony,
right now.
and not just that, he did his duty by marrying Lysa too.
That's actually a real, like, when House Targaryen's dying, I think he keeps talking about like Tansy, and Catelyn Stark thinks like, who is Tansy? And Jon Arryn thinks that Catelyn is Lysa. Oh, Tone's gone. I'll just keep talking. Yeah, I'm sure he'll come back. But basically, House Targaryen dies with so much regret for having aborted, because Lysa Tully had sex with Peter Baelish, Littlefinger.
Mm-hmm.
So he had her drink moon tea or tansy tea to abort that child, and then and then he basically sold her off like a broodmare to Jon Arryn. Jon Arryn never had any children. Like Sweet Robin's probably Littlefinger's son, but that happens at a different point. But his dying words are actually like Tansy, and it's kind of sad. Like Hoster Tully actually regretted what he did to his little, and that actually reverberates through the future, because Lysa Arryn never came back. She never came back when he was on his deathbed or whatever. He sort of broke his bridges. These, it stinks. I hate this whole time period in life where these high lords are just selling off their children as brood mares and also their sons. But at least when like their highborn sons, their first sons, at least, yeah, they get sold off and told who they're going to marry, but at least they get to stay in their original home. These girls are just sold off and they have to live out in a place where they're like hundreds of miles away, and it just sucks.
Yeah, no, it was a horrible age for any kind of individuality thoughts for anybody. AK says, my headcanon is that Lysa was pregnant with Baelish's kid, and that's why Hoster pushed the wedding. I mean, Bridge is kind of implying that possibly that's a situation similar to that. Maud Mary says, yes, I really want Sweet Mary to be Littlefinger's son.
Yeah, I think if you look at the timing, though, it couldn't have been there because the age. Take that with a grain of salt. I'm pretty sure Hoster Tully aborted that child, but that they later ended up having. Oh, yeah. It's that they had sex. Because think about the age. Like Robert's Rebellion happened 16 years ago. Rob and Aaron is what, like 10 or something like that. Sometime during while the time they were at Lysa was at King's Landing. That's when they probably conceived Sweet Robin.
Yeah, and absolutely, that is how alliances were made in that era. It doesn't mean it didn't suck when you look at it back in retrospect, but it's true, and especially in the books versus the show, a lot more goes into showing you how alliances are made through marriages, even more than winning battles, and even the end of battles or end of wars lead into marriages that end those kind of conflict situations.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what you're saying because I stepped away for a second, but I would say when you're dealing with war and everything else, you got to look at what war truly is. War is just a means to get to a political end. So, if it's not that, when you have war, it's because you can't reach a political decision. So you have a war to figure out what that political decision will be in the end. If that's not the case, it's not war, it's genocide, right? So that's all war is. If you can't solve it on politics, and you can't come to an agreement, you have a war to see whose politics win out at that particular time. So that's truly what war is all about and everything, and no more than that. Quentin got a super chat. Thank you, my man Q. So I think Jon Arryn's decision and the whole Rob's rebellion comes back to guess right. How could he kept his honor and give up his wards? No choice. And I agree. And his head would have been on the line too. I would have to put. I mean, as you said, he played his part. He married who we had to marry. He knew what had to be done. So it all comes down to that. And Lock Garden says, "Thank you, Kevin, for all that good."
Will says it right, and I'm going to put this out here, dude. Direwolf City, this squad. My goodness, why isn't HBO throwing money at us? Yes, HBO. If anyone from HBO is watching this, we will gladly do a after show for House of Dragons live on HBO for you, and we'll even take minimal money for it. We'll do it for fun. We'll do it for fun and cost.
Listen, we'll do it for a lot less than you paid. We'll do it for a lot less than you're charging, the other people for doing it. Yeah, because you see like these other people who do like the Walking Dead show and they're terrible.
Oh yeah,
we'll do it for a lot less than you're paying those guys. Yeah, I guarantee you that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Kev, how things went down with marriages and Robert Rebellion is why I don't get how Walter Frey didn't push the wedding with Rob when he first crossed the twins. Absolutely. So as we get to this point in Robert's Rebellion, I mean, he calls down, he tries to kill them for whatever reason that Arryn, whether it's for love, whether it's for respect for being a ward, that's when Robert Arryn calls his banners and Robert's rebellion officially starts. Right at that point in time, right? That's the beginning point, and the first battle is the taking of Gulltown, I believe.
Gulltown, yes, something about the gullet, yeah. So basically, like Robert Baratheon and Ned are wards at the Vale, and now it's like, all right, so Robert, you have to go rally your troops. Ned, you have to go north and rally your troops. But not everyone at the Vale sided with Lord Jon Arryn, because it's like that is a hard debate. It's like you have Jon Arryn is your liege lord, but you're also part of a kingdom. So some of the people sided with the Targaryens, so they had to fight them right away in the Vale. Robert did, and then Ned also. I don't think he could get out of the Vale and then go north, so he ended up sailing up north. I forget exactly where he landed. It was somewhere around like the Three Sisters or around near Wyman Mandalay, right? Because then you go to Winterfell to land there. But that's sort of where one of the rumors of who Ned because I think it's in a Davos. Yeah, it's in Davos's chapter. You know, like the night lamp theory stems from like when Davos in A Dance of Dragons shows up to like the night lamp, and then he goes to Wyman Mandalay to White Harbor, and they speak about like the people there think, yeah, Ned showed up here back in the day. Oh, this is cool. So they tell Davos like Ned showed up here. And then he went north to rally his people. And the deal was that, like, Ned, if you don't win the war, you were never here. You know what I mean? And they give Davos that sort of same deal. They're like, Davos, all right, we're going to let you live and send you off. But remember, like, if you don't win, you were never here, bro.
I'm sorry, but let you continue. I'm saying,
just to finish that off, is that they think some of the people there think that that Jon Snow is the bastard child of Ned, and like Willa or someone from
your girl Willa.
well, the Wyla thing comes from, wasn't there a Wyla that was a nursemaid?
Yeah,
that was milking Jon Snow, and he just took the name from her, and the mothers, what do they call it? Mothers, milk mother or something.
Milk mother.
Milk mother. I thought that Wyla was just a milk mother for Jon Snow. He just took her name.
Now, in this time period that you were talking about, Bridge, where Robert fights in this area, this is where he fought the 3 battles in one day at Summerhall. Was that in this time period? I fought 3 battles in one day. I believe this might have been in this stretch.
Yeah. So I think the next step is that am I muted, or can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, so I think the next step is that I'm a little vague on this, but Ned goes north. Rob does fight in the Vale. Then he goes and rallies his troop. I think he has some of the same issues, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that just like in the Vale, not all of the Stormlands came to Robert. But anyway, he rallies some of his men, and that leads into what you're getting at, which I think the first like battle, technically, like in the it might have been over towards like not the Riverlands or it might have been over at the Reach. Was like the 3 in one day.
Yeah, he fought 3 battles. He fought 3 battles after he landed in the Stormland, says Mist Man Jones.
Oh,
I mean, right now, we're going to talk about what led to it. So at this point, we're just sort of talking about, Robert's rebellion and each of the points in the battle, which I guess lead up to the end. But ultimately, we get to the point. I mean, what led up to Robert's rebellion was all this crap. Was Rhaegar already putting seeds of discontent about his father being batshit crazy, and then burning the Starks, and or as Tony said, Rickard Stark being a little dumb and not protecting his son, and then Aerys not knowing when to quit and calling down and setting up the situation. But now you're right. I think we're at the point where Robert wins the 3 battles and he's collecting the Storm Lords and collecting all of that. So yeah, I mean that's ultimately the whole Robert's leading into it at that point.
Yeah, the 3 battles are at Summerhall. Okay, in and around in the Stormlands,
which makes which is a big deal, because obviously that's where Rhaegar was born and everything. So Summerhall is very we should do a whole podcast on Summerhall.
There's a lot to it. I mean, people asked us earlier for a Dunk and Egg podcast, so it is worth mentioning Summerhall definitely ends a big story of Dunk and Egg, and I think it's interesting. I believe it's in this book where the pages about it where they block it out because it's a story yet to come that hasn't been told, and I hope we maybe get that story from George at some point in time about what actually happened in Summerhall.
So the takeaway, this is interesting, right? Because it feeds into like Stannis Baratheon's character arc, because the whole time he's marching to Winterfell, he, his whole life he's been like that middle brother, the younger brother, and it's like living in his shoes. He even says it at one point. They're like, Stannis would have been there in like 3 days. He would have marched day and night, blah, blah, blah. And Stannis even knows this. And it's because of this example, like that he got an informant saying that these people were all gonna join up at Summerhall. So he just rode, and they kicked the crap out of one, then kicked the crap out of a second, kicked the crap. Man, I would love to see that on screen. I'd love to see a young Bobby B. He was cool.
Oh, listen, Robert Baratheon's an animal. And listen, I'm not saying that he wouldn't have been able to do his thing, but just been too many of them if they were there. There's been too many for him to fight. He may have been, like, if you fight Sir Arthur Dayne, you're going to get injured. So to come off that injury and then fight Rhaegar, you're dead. There's no winning. It's just too much. You know, it would have been too many for him to go through and stuff like that. And I would like to say that I appreciate everybody in the chat having this whole huge maidenhead conversation, because it is two different things. Go watch that video, Catelyn Stark's Secret, and you'll understand exactly what it said. And it is two different things. I just can't get into it now because it would just throw me off of everything that we're talking about and everything else.
The next big battle is the Battle of Ashford, and that's the battle where I believe he loses. This is the one where Randyll Tarly beats. It's like the one battle he loses, right? Is this the Randyll Tarly battle?
So. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, at least Sam's dad can kick his ass. He's the only one, but maybe it could also be because Robert, I believe, in my memory of it, Robert's a little injured. He was battle worn at this point. They just fought 3 battles. It was got put in a bad position, and this is where Stannis gets into the situation. Do you think you were talking about decisions? If we're just getting into the battle, and I know you're such a Stannis fan, Tony.
Yeah.
Do you think it was a difficult decision for Stannis to make a decision to side with Robert? Do you think part of him wanted to side with Aerys in that situation?
Yeah, he actually says, you know, what do I do? Do I side with my king or do I side with my big brother? But in the end, the little brother follows the big brother. And that's what he did, and that's why he decided to go with Robert on it.
Do you think he made the right decision?
He didn't joust with the decision himself. He jousted with it in his own head. You know, it's my king, you know, but this is my brother. But as you said, you know, the big brother follows the little brother is what he expected from Renly, you know, because that's the decision he made. He expected Renly to do the exact same thing, but instead Renly tried to crown himself king and kill Stannis. So that's what really hurt him in the end. And that's really why, you know, when he had to take Renly out, that he always thinks about it, because it should never got to that point. The Don Tony Teflon has one shot here, one shot of Hennessy Pure White, last shot of the bottle. I'll take this shot. We'll do shots if we get another super chat. Doesn't matter how much the super chat is, but if we get another super chat, we will take these shots.
Yeah, one more.
Unusual. I was about to say unusual. I guess we are the unusual.
Not unusual. So that could work for us too. That could be a very specific name for us too.
Yeah, and just to add something in, I like doing these parallels between the characters, and also they relate to the character arcs. Like Stannis, like, you know, how he sort of does, like, he forgives, but he doesn't forget, right? Whereas Robert had that, what Robert did, he used to, like, fight someone during the day, and then he'd be drinking with them at night, and they'd be fighting alongside him the next day. Yeah. And I think that happened like, when he was fighting the Stormlands, one of those 3 one of those 3 lords that he was fighting, one of them, I think, joined him, and then Randyll Tarly ended up killing that guy. So Randyll Tarly's got that. So I forget who the guy was, though, but I think that happened. Robert inspired loyalty for some reason.
Yeah, and there's people like that. You know, there's people like that you genuinely like, you know, and that's what Robert had going for him. Like, yeah, we're fighting, but come on, bro. You know, we cool people. And people just like, you know, I like this motherfucker. I had a guy like that, this guy, Matthew Soriano, who, you know, he was like that. Like even when we had beef with people, everyone would say, we don't like y'all, but we like Matt. You know, they didn't like anyone else, but they like Matt's cool as fuck. We don't want to. Matt's mad cool. It's cool, motherfucker. But fuck y'all. You know, but Matt's our boy. But don't matter. And Matt's down with us. You know what I mean? But it's like everybody was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like Matt's the man. Like everyone liked him, and I think that's what Robert. He was the man's man. Yeah. So all these men like enjoy being around him. There's guys who are like that, you know what I mean? Who other men just enjoy being around. And Robert Baratheon was that type of guy. Like, let's go fuck some chicks and drink some fucking beer, bro. Let's do this, man. You know, like, that was it.
He was also
kick somebody's ass on top of that.
He was also like, I kick your ass, but still respect you. Like at the end there, when Barristan was like injured and shit, he's like, fucking no one fuck with Barristan. I don't care if I was trying to kill him right away. No one fuck with him because he's a cool shit. Here's a drink, Barristan. I just beat your ass. Ha ha. You're working for me now. You know, that's the kind of guy he is, you know, and Tony's right. You meet those kind of people along the way and you don't know why. They're just charismatic as fuck and they can get away with things other people can't get away with. And Robert Baratheon was one of those guys.
We got 2 super chats. We got Fernandez C 15 shots, brother. Then we got Regina Great, another $10 shots.
Oh,
go,
wow.
Good show, go, bro. So let's take this right here. Cheers, baby. We love you all.
Oh, thank you.
Do I have to work in the morning? You're exactly right. I do.
So just to yada yada the rest, because since we don't have to break apart the whole war. We're not talking about the war, but then we lead into the Battle of the Bells, where finally they're joined together. You know, the forces all come together, and then the Battle of the Trident is the next big one. And we talked a lot about the Battle of the Trident tonight. Before, but
I will say this before we even do that, but legacy and hype means a lot. Winning 3 battles in a row, when that spreads, you know what I mean? If you do something like that, people will back you. Like, oh, who is this Robert? Like, at that particular time, like, Robert was always known as a great fighter, one-on-one and everything else. But when you win 3 battles in a row, back to back to back, it's the momentum starts to surge with you. And then people start to believe with you. And everyone always likes to be on the winning side. In the end, everyone wants to be the winner. And when you start seeing that momentum, people start saying, you know, maybe it's destined that Robert's supposed to pull this shit off. Because no one, you know, people understand that the Targaryens had ruled for all these years. Other people, Robert wasn't the first person to rebel. No one was able to pull it off. Out of nowhere, here comes this goddamn Robert Baratheon. And he's truly has a chance to fucking knock these people back since they came to Westeros. He's the first one out of all these generations who was able to actually do it. And when you win 3 battles in a row, people start believing like, yo, you know, this dude might have a chance. This guy, the gods might be on his side, you know.
Not to mention, Tony, visually how he looked too, wearing that fucking helmet, swinging that hammer, that created a mystique about it. And winning those 3 battles, you're absolutely right. But like even the visual image of him, the way you imagine that with word-to-word the telephone game, how that gets spread around, like he is a demon. You should see him. He's got horns, swinging that hammer, blah, 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 blah. That's how legends are created.
I threw out something just for like real quick for the nerdy people. So I'm pretty sure Robert stayed. It was probably a brothel, I'm guessing. It was called the Peach. So that obviously ties into Stannis with his thoughts about when Renly telling him like, you know, just teach the Peach, brother. Yeah. So that's one thing. And the other real quick thing is that the battle. Oh, 2 things. Battle of the Bells. So you have like the Game of Thrones, that episode that a lot of people don't like. I like the episode. I think it was called Battle of the Bells or the Bells or something like that in season 8. But then lastly is that Gendry or Robert Baratheon, he had a lot of bastard children. One of them is a girl. I forget her name, but I think he had her at the Battle of the Bells. And then Gendry actually meets up with her while they're traveling around the Stormlands with the Brotherhood Without Banners. And she hits on Gendry. Like she wants to have sex with Gendry. Turns out like they're half brother, half sister. So that's pretty funny.
Well, that's a Targaryen thing. And even though Robert Baratheon does, you know, he eventually does take the throne and everything else, you know, and they say, oh, the Targaryens are off the throne. Truly, they're not off the throne because the Baratheons are Targaryens. I mean, when you look at them and everything, because Oris Baratheon was the half-brother of Aegon the Conqueror. So he was a Targaryen. So when you look at it, really the Targaryens have never truly been off the throne at that particular time. It's just another line of Targaryens, no different than if the Blackfires were on there. It would be the same type of bloodline and stuff. So
that was part of the reason why they picked Robert. Yeah, he was the head of the rebellion, but he also was the only one of the group between Robert, Arryn, Ned, and him that had any Targaryen in him. So it helped his claim be smoother, and that's why they all sort of backed around him easily in that situation. It wasn't just Rhaegar; it was that Targaryen in him. Bridge.
Sorry. I was speaking to AK because we were talking about Maya Stone, one of Robert's other awesome bastards over in the Vale. Maya Stone is great, but I didn't realize she was at the Peach. So the girl's name that I was referring to, her name is Bella. Bella, but the Gendry saw her at the Peach at Stony Septs. Yeah, so she's literally at the place where she may have been conceived. Oh my God, George R. R. Martin's a wizard.
He is. Yeah, that's what I say. That's like I say when I say like he does take things from other people. I'm not trying to diss his writing ability. You know, he may be inspired by other things, but he puts a lot of his own twists on these things that he's inspired by, and all that. And there's no doubt about it. So, you know. So where are we at? We're at the Battle of the Trident.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Battle of the Bells, and then the Battle of the Trident is the next big.
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit.
Wait, just quick. So to keep the is that how did the Battle of the Bells end? Like Robert would have got. I think it was Rhaenyra Tarly and Mace Tyrell. They were going there. They probably would have kicked the crap out of him, even though the town had Robert's back. Like he was hiding and whatnot. But then Ned Stark Ned Stark came down and then ambushed them. Okay, and then we move on to the Battle of the Trident.
Yeah.
Ned Stark comes and lists the siege while Stannis Baratheon. He just says, "Fuck you, Stannis." Stannis
keep eating those onions.
Storms end the whole time. You know, eating rats, eating cats, eating dogs, holding it down. Tarly is there, just wanting the glory of being the first person to ever break Storm's End. And if Tarly didn't stay there, and he would have went back and helped out, he would have won the war again, and Robert Baratheon.
Tony, I was just gonna say that you keep bringing these things up, and it's so true. There's all these little moments that Robert, Ned, Jon Arryn, we got so lucky. There's these like lucky moments.
It's Mace Tyrell. I'm sorry. It's Mace Tyrell. It's Mace the one that's at
Mace.
Yeah, I said Mace and Tarly went where Ned beat Mace and Tarly. I was wrong. It was just Rhaenyra Tarly there. Mace had gone to Storm's End, I'm pretty sure. It was
so much luck, so much happenstance, so many things went his way. As you said, if Rhaegar found a different way to hide lyanna and they were at the Battle of the Trident, Sir Arthur Dayne was at the Battle of the Trident, Robert's done. If they went here, went there, and it's he only won. And as you pointed out earlier too, there's been many rebellions throughout history. Robert needed the perfect hand. You know, if you're playing or a perfect poker tournament, you're playing a poker tournament, you win every hand in the right. Maybe you lose a couple, but you don't lose all your chips, and you can stay in the tournament. And then you keep winning. That's what Robert did. He won every coin toss. He needed to win, and it worked out for him in a lot of ways. That. It was so close. It was a fine-tooth win. It wasn't as
it shouldn't have, he shouldn't have won the war. Everything went his way. Everything just fell his way. Any one of these things that go the opposite, and it wouldn't have took like 2, 3 of these things. One of these things go against him and he loses the war. But it was Mace Tyrell who wanted, I want to say that I sacked Storm's End. And listen, a siege is not like you're doing anything. All you're doing is sitting outside. It's not like he's a great battle commander and he's sitting there and he's you're just standing outside of a place. That's basically like you have a bully that's outside your doorstep in your house and you can't leave the house because you're scared to get your ass kicked by this bully. He's just sitting out there. He's not doing anything. And you're just in your house because you're scared there's nothing you can do at this particular time. And when Ned Stark came, he didn't even try to fight him.
He ran, didn't he?
He just bounced. He said, all right, we're out. Because it was all about nostalgia. It was all about nostalgia. It was all about him just having a legacy, a name of it, and him just saying that, hey, this is what it was all about. I'm just to be able to say, I'm the first person in history to sack Storm's End. That's all it was about for him, instead of actually trying to win the war. Because if he takes his army and turns it up, they win. Again, when Robert was trapped inside of the Battle of the Bells, when he was in there, they had a chance to win again. If Tywin Lannister was at the helm, he would have burnt the city down and killed Robert. But again, we have somebody who has an ego, who says, I want to be the one to break this Robert Baratheon and find him myself. One-on-one. But the ego got in the way. And if that didn't happen by Jon Con, and he would have did it the Tywin Lannister way, the rebellion is over. So it's
forgot about that.
people who want to defeat this man because Robert has this legacy. I just won 3 battles in a row. And I want to be the guy to beat the guy and it wouldn't have been honorable to burn the whole city and burn everybody up in it. You wouldn't have that honor, but the rebellion is over at that time. So when you look, I said there's 5 things that happened why Robert should have lost. And you have heard just all of them right there. Robert shouldn't have lost that rebellion, but it was the stupidity of other people and dumb luck of Robert that he actually won.
I think Ares might have exiled Connington after that too, which dude, he had your back, man. He was fighting for you hard. He was a little too honorable, but
he was convinced there's a rat. You only lost because there was a rat, or you were doing like. And Nadia brings up an interesting point that's a side point to what we're talking about, but it's important too. If the Mad King didn't kill the Starks, I think Rhaegar would have worked it out with them. And been able to work out something with Robert and all of that. Do you think if the Starks didn't die and it was just like a love affair, if we're going to go down Bridges Road, that it was some sort of love, or even if it was the prophecy thing, that they would have been able, because Tony mentioned this earlier, it's like your daughter's going to be queen. My queen's okay with it. Everyone's okay with it. There could have been a way that Rhaegar could have made it good to the Starks and Robert if his father didn't fuck it all up and burn the Starks. So I do think that I do agree with that to a certain extent, that I do think Rhaegar could have probably figured something out with Robert, even though he was obsessed with Lyanna. He would have, he has 10 other women, Robert, and they're all Targaryen, or whatever. You can have my first daughter, Robert. He would have done something and figured it out. And I think Robert would have been drunk enough and just be okay, I'll deal with it. But he wouldn't have like started a revolution over it. I think you needed what he did with the Starks to rationalize the anger. So yeah, I agree with that, Nadia.
There's no doubt. John Con, I'm gonna, it's a problem with a lot of men. You know what I mean? I will say in life, a lot of men think with the wrong head, right? And
true.
And I think that Coogee Rap, in one of his rap songs, he said it the best. He says, big girls try to squash me, but I think with my dick, baby, so come and brainwash me, right? So that is what it's about. And John Connington, being in love with Rhaegar at that time, wanted to show Rhaegar, hey, I am the one who did this for you. I beat Robert one-on-one in battle to hopefully get Rhaegar to somehow be attracted to him because he did this and have sex with him.
Yep.
And because of that, he didn't want to just go out there and say, hey, I burnt the city and I killed your guy, because there'd be no honor in that. But he would have still won the war for him. So, he should have just did his thing and won the battle for the guy. And that's why he got what he got. And people said in the chat that he's lucky that he wasn't executed. He's damn right lucky. He should have been executed for it. He's damn right he should have been executed. And that's what it comes down to it. You know what I mean? So
he should have burnt the town, men, women, children. He should have pulled the land
everybody. Everybody got to go. Everybody gotta go. Everyone gotta go. At this particular time, everybody gotta go.
Can you imagine burning in a fire, though? That is dirty. I'm a team John Connington. There's ways to fight. You don't burn all when men, women, and children.
That's why you get exiled and have grayscale then. And now you're trying to make up. And now you're trying to make up what you did, really. And his thoughts. He realizes he was wrong. He should have did it the other way.
Bridge, this is for you. That's why Jaime's a hero, for what he did to the Mad King to stop him from burning the fucking city. That's one of the reasons why Jaime's a hero.
And Cyrus, Doom Boom X, you know what I mean? I appreciate you watching. I understand it's late and it's a Wednesday. People got to work, but thank you for staying as long as you did, man. We truly appreciate that.
So after
are we at the Trident? We're at the Trident or no?
Yeah, we're at the Trident, and there's been a lot of talk about what happened at the Trident throughout history. But at some point within the battle, Robert and Rhaegar faced off, and Robert beat him down with the hammer after many clashes in a huge epic Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader like battle, and then Robert defeats him. All the rubies scatter everywhere, and then most of Rhaegar's army goes, what do we do? And either ran away or went to Robert's side. Like, they didn't continue the battle. The minute he dropped, it was like, what do we do now? And because I believe they outnumbered Robert's forces in that situation. And I think also in that battle, Robert was injured as well, like injured enough that he didn't leave there and he didn't go down to the next King's Landing thing. So
yeah, but the Northerners, I think it was said that they were like battle tested. Like, they had smaller numbers, but they were battle tested or something like that. Like, they were fighters, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
but when you deal with the Battle of Trident and you deal with Rhaegar's rubies afterwards, and they said Robert was beat up after the battle. It wasn't like he went there and just whipped Rhaegar's ass. Rhaegar caught him. But when you look at me and Bridge, we talked about this. We had a stream about the best fighters in Westeros.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in the stream. When you look at on horseback, that the way they were fighting and charging at each other, what they were wearing, Robert had the advantage because of his weapon. The war hammer in that situation, what played against plated armor, if Rhaegar is just slashing with a sword, it's not the same as someone who has a hammer that can bash your ass. And there was a show. What was that show where they would test these? What was that? I love that. Deadliest Warrior. Where they would have these weapons and they would test the weapons against, and they would put, mannequins or with jelly skulls. I remember they used like a war hammer and everything else, right? And they hit somebody with the war hammer, and the hammer, the armor was still fine. It had a little dent, but inside they had fractured the skull. So you're not going to be able to do that with a glancing blow of a sword. But when that hammer hits you, it may not break your armor in pieces, but underneath you, it may just, it'll blow you down. And I think that's what happened with Rhaegar. He just got hit with that damn hammer.
Too much.
And this was a hammer with Robert. That
Warhammer.
Stark could not lift with two hands. And Robert swung that motherfucker with one. So this wasn't just like your normal fucking hammer that you're pounding in nails. This was a heavy ass fucking hammer that Robert was throwing at you. Mon Mary, thank you for the super chat for those cookies. I'm going to win next week. All right. We hope that you do win it. And that is the Lady in the Dime podcast he's talking about. Mayor of Easttown. We do that every Tuesday. And we're doing a giveaway next Tuesday for the next episode. Hopefully you win Mon Mary, and you will get. And if you want those cookies will be towards you. And without a shout out of doubt, you know what I mean. And that's it. Oh, someone's screaming, "Get the F out of here!" I don't know what's going on in the chat.
It's probably to me. It's probably because I'm guessing that it was that I said Rhaegar is Mance Rayder, or vice versa. Mance Rayder is Rhaegar in my head.
Or we're still about you saying that you like the bells.
Rhaegar is not Mance Rayder.
I believe he is. I'm not going to get into it on the stream.
Oh, why would you think that?
We're at the end of the discussion. You can get into
there are so many reasons.
I'm going to go through this with Bridge right now.
We have time now.
Well, so I do have a video I've been doing for like 4 years. Never released it. It'll come out within the next 2 months. But I'll give you a couple of them right now. It's like Mance Rayder. Mance Rayder's whole life has been about, aside from falling in love with Lyanna, his whole life has been about what? The Doom. What is the Doom? It's what Mance Rayder is.
All right. So wait. All right. So let's go through this real quick before you even go into the rest. And I'm not trying to.
No. There are major problems.
I'm playing this right here. So we do have a history of Mance Rayder, right?
Well, we have.
All right. We have a written history of what happened. We have people who found he was a baby by the Night's Watch, who was found and raised at the wall. We have that. That's in stone, right? I'm just saying we have that history of him. It's already
that's
there.
the history that's told. Like, he's not going to go up there saying I'm Rhaegar.
History is told, but that history is told that he was a baby. So in order for this not to be true, then everyone in the Night's Watch, and he was a baby when he was found. He wasn't found a grown man. He was found as a baby. So that means he was raised 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5. So all these people who came in between the Night's Watch, they would all had to been lying. All of them would have had to make up this whole story about this so-called baby that they found that was Mance Rayder if Rhaegar was not Mance Rayder.
The only person we know of that's interacted with Mance Rayder is Corrin Halfhand, who is Sir Arthur Dayne.
He's the only one alive at that time because he was raised as a child and he met him later on, right? So there were other people. He just happens to be the guy who's alive at the wall at that time, and he remembers him from that time.
So I'll say this to everybody in the chat real quick. My headcanon, Mance Rayder is Rhaegar and Qhorin is Sir Arthur Dayne. There's a major, and I used to actually believe that 100% for years. There are a couple major problems with the theory. So it's more of just Mance Rayder and Qhorin Halfhand are a nod to, I think George R. Martin's intentions. They're just a nod to Rhaegar and Sir Arthur Dayne. Here, I'll give you a couple quick examples. The very first thing that Mance Rayder does when he meets Jon Snow is, oh, you're Ned Stark's bastard, right? So now we're talking about Mance Rayder. He crossed the wall and came down to Winterfell a couple times. Once was and it was to, in theory, to see like his son Jon Snow. Now there are, like, if you look at, I think it's like a Clash of Kings, John 4, 5, and 6, like in those chapters with Qhorin Halfhand, it's like the very first thing that happens when Qhorin Halfhand arrives to the Fist of the First Men is Qhorin Halfhand. Dawn and Qhorin Halfhand arrive together. Dawn, meaning the sword Dawn. So if Qhorin is Sir Arthur Dayne. So you think about the story of Mance Rayder, he was wearing, like, he had a cloak. Why did he give up the Night's Watch? Because he had a cloak that had, like, he was given a cloak by the person who healed him that was black with some red stitching, black and red, like Targaryens. And he's like, you know what? I'm giving up this black cloak. Then you have, like, the relationship between the two. One more. Sorry, one more.
Before you get to that one, I'm going to let you get there. Let's start with that real quick. The black with the red stitching. So he gave up the cloak because he wanted the red stitching, right? So he was raised at the wall, and he realized that this is a constricting lifestyle.
Yep.
And that's why he wants to be part of the free folk where he doesn't have to have those constrictions. So the fact that he had that proves that he was raised at the wall, and that's why he didn't want to live that life anymore, right? So that would prove that he was a baby that was found at the wall that did that whole situation.
No, 100%. I've actually converted, like I said, in my headcanon, that he is Rhaegar, but that's not what George actually intended. They're more of just Qhorin and Mance Rayder are a nod to Rhaegar and Sir Arthur Dayne.
About Rhaegar and dealing, and I understand I heard other people say this thing. The whole thing about this is that Rhaegar has to die for the story.
Mm-hmm.
If Rhaegar doesn't die, the story doesn't work. You can't have him all of a sudden just pop up and say, "Hey, it's Rhaegar Targaryen. I've been here this whole time." That doesn't work. Two. Let's say he was Mance, right? Let's say let's just throw everything out the window and say that Rhaegar was Mance. Mance dies again, right? He dies while he's at the wall. He gets in the
show,
right? He's dead. I mean, from what they show in this show, he's dead, and in the books, he's dead, right? They claim he's dead by Ramsay. He's put in the cage. So if he had a major role to play and he was Rhaegar in the show, do you think they would have burnt him in the show the way they did? If that was the case, if he was Rhaegar and he had that role to play, why kill him again? If your purpose is to die, like I'm Rhaegar, I didn't die at the Trident, I just died in Winterfell. You're dead. What did you do that was different? You died, so it just doesn't make sense. If he was Rhaegar, he can't die again. He has to stay alive for the whole thing. And there's no evidence that he would, because if that was the case and that was the point, he would have stayed alive in the show. They would have done that. But that wasn't what Mance's role was for Jon. That wasn't his role. He was to be a second type father, a father of non-constriction, to show him, not Rhaegar his father, but to show him what life was on the other side. That's truly what Mance's role it was and is in this situation and stuff. So I understand. I don't understand why people think that's fake, but if they want to, that's true. But he's dead, and in the end, he dies. So it makes no sense for that to go down.
Yeah, they're like, I am going to eventually release a video because I've spent like 100 hours on it, 200 hours on it over the years. But just real quick, I now think it's more of a nod to it because there are a lot of problems with the theory. However, I will say this: it's like, what would Mance have accomplished? Mance knew about the White Walkers for the last, in the show they say it's 15 or 16 years, and it's effectively the same in the books. He spent his life saving humanity effectively from the Dune. He's helped get them south of the wall, and now it's sort of passing the torch on to Jon. So I would, even if he was technically Rhaegar, I think he did a great job. He helped hundreds of thousands of people. The one last thing I'll say though is real interesting. So if you take Mance Rhaegar, or Mance Raider. Now, if you spell it out, like type it with your hand, right? Like Rayder, right? So write a sloppy D is like, woo, and just have a little hook at the top of that D, flip that upside down, and Raider becomes Rhaegar. Mance Raider, House Rhaegar.
Okay.
Sorry, we can move on.
I've heard people say like oh, because Saratha Dane said, I wish you good faith in the worlds to come. And then the show man said, I wish you good in the worlds to come. Oh, that means he has to be the same person. Listen, I heard the lady from House Targaryen say winter is coming. Doesn't make her a Stark, right?
So
people say shit that they hear. You can say stuff and everything else. And I'm sorry. And people say I'm a buzzkill because no. It's fun to get the facts out there. I'm going to put the facts out there and everything else. And if it's a legitimate theory, I'm here for it. But the bottom line in the end is he has to die. That's like saying Ned Stark isn't really dead. He walked into one of the birds that flew away and he's going to come back. No, he has to die. There's reasons why people have to die in stories. There's just the way it goes. Rhaegar has to die. There's no way around that. He had to go. That's just where it is and stuff like that. But hey, if people want to believe it, I'm not here to make you disbelieve it. Believe what you must.
Yeah, so one last thing I'll say, there's a lot of cool things. Just it's really nice parallel. So then it's like Arthur Dane, right? So there's a quote about Arthur Dane, like he was as good as like his left as he was with his right hand, right? About swordplay. And coincidentally or not, it's more of I think it's more of just a nod to those two. It's not actually them. But Qhorin Halfhand is someone who lost his knuckles in a fight. He got him chopped off by an axe and became even better with his left hand than his right. There are just a lot of cool parallels. And like you said, more than likely.
I think that points out that's more in line for Jaime Lannister. That Jaime, who got his hand chopped off, and he was a great fighter with his right hand and truly never measured up with his left hand as he was with his right hand, could be, showing how great Qhorin was to be able to do that not every person can do it. But as we see in the show, somehow Jaime survived the Battle of Winterfell. He couldn't beat Bronn. He couldn't beat Bronn. He barely beat the guy in Dorne.
He got lucky. He got Indiana Jones lucky in that fight.
Somehow he was able to survive the whole battle.
To shift the discussion to another fun question, Man Jones might have left, but thank you for checking out. Had one last question before they left. What if Tywin rebelled against instead of Robert? Do you think Tywin could have defeated Aerys in a rebellion instead of Robert?
I don't think he has a support. See, the whole thing comes down to the support of the other lords. He wouldn't have had the support that he needed to win. And that's what Robert got. Not only did he have this, Jon Arryn who knew what he had to do to gain the support. You're going to marry her, I'm going to marry her, or we're going to get this going. Would the Starks have backed Tywin Lannister? I don't think so. Would the Tyrells have backed Tywin Lannister? Would the Arryns have backed Tywin Lannister? I don't think so. They wouldn't have had a reason to. Jon Arryn did it because his boys' lives were on the line. So you already have right there 3 major houses, and they secured the last house they really needed by a marriage alliance. So it would have had to been something like that. I just don't think he would have been able to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that as well.
Bernie's like he had some lame fight with Euron, and Euron went down like a bitch. Oh, we got a super chat right here from Melinda Murphy. I love saying Murphy like that. Charlie Murphy.
Charlie Murphy.
Peace, Charlie Murphy. Qhorin is Jon's half hand of the king, like Vagon is his half maester. It's a nod to that. That's a very good point. And I think, how do you feel about that?
You just reminded me of something. So another like nice nod to Arthur Dayne. Like, what is Arthur Dayne's job down at the Tower of Joy? It's to protect Rhaegar's son, right? And what did Corrin end up doing? He protected Jon Snow's life. There's just so many cool parallels between that it makes me want to believe that it's true.
Yeah, I understand why people want to believe it, but I just don't think it is. You know, what I mean, I want to believe that Stannis Baratheon is going to sit the Iron Throne when it's all said and done. But reality sets in. I have to go with the truth. That's not going to happen.
I didn't answer a question. John's So, what was his name? Halfmaester. Where did he come from? Who is he? I forget. He's a cool dude though. Let's see.
Oh, all right. So we got to get this done. So we're 3 hours in. So we have to. I know. I'm sure people.
We already basically answered the question. That's why it's okay that we're just babbling right now, because the question was, how did it start? So at this point, the trident happens. Robert wins that. Robert stays there, and Ned proceeds up to King's Landing for the sack of King's Landing, which that's a different story altogether. That Jaime, obviously, that King Aerys kills his other hand, then goes to the pyromancers. Jaime's behind, does the stab in the back, as we've all heard that story before, to stop it. He's going to burn them all. You can watch that episode of Game of Thrones or read chapters with Brienne to see that, to hear that described perfectly. And then after that point, Ned eventually shows up after Tywin does the whole, "Oh, I'm okay, I'm here to help." And then he comes in, and also an interesting point in all of this is that Aerys did send some people away, but because he thought that maybe Rhaegar was against him, he kept his wife there, he kept Elia there and the kids there. But there were other people that he did send away for protection, knowing what was coming. But he did keep them there, and obviously the thing with the mountain happened there, and that was the whole sack of King's Landing.
I didn't see another super chat. So I didn't see the super chat shot. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. It's not up there. I don't know if it didn't register or whatever. But so I can't do that for you. But I appreciate everything else. I would say that it's still up for debate to me that Jaime Lannister actually knew that the Mad King was going to burn down King's Landing, and that's why.
Oh, you don't believe him? You don't believe Jaime?
I don't believe that story at all, because I don't see it from the proof or evidence that he did it. I think he did it because he wanted to do it. I think he did it because he told him to kill his father. And I don't think he did it specifically because he wanted to save everybody in the realm from being burned down.
All I'm going to say right now, just to not make this go down another direction, the Jaime Lannister episode is going to be a fun episode.
Yeah, we will do a whole Jaime Lannister thing. But
the Jaime episode is going to be a fun one.
But definitely when it's all said and done, we end with that. Tywin Lannister coming in, Varys telling the king not to open the gate, but he not listening to Varys at this time, opening the gate to Tywin. Tywin sacks King's Landing, and then that's when and kills the queen's children, supposedly, and sacks the whole King's Landing. And then after that, we have the Tower of Joy situation that jumps off, and all that, and that's basically how
and then somewhere within after that, Robert's declared king. Is there a sort of a council that gets together, not dissimilar to what we see at the end of the Game of Thrones series, where they're like, who's king right now? Or Robert makes the most sense. There's probably something like that happened where Robert was supported as king, and then Ned returns north, and then Robert doesn't see him for 10 years at that point. And Robert starts running things. Robert agrees to marry Cersei, which supports his alliance with Tywin, who starts immediately loaning him money and starts going, "Oh yeah, you can pay me back, whatever. You don't owe me shit." And Bill, while he's getting the tab and claiming that his grandkid will finally be a king, and a Lannister will sit on the throne one day, and that's the story of Robert's rebellion.
Yeah, that's basically rebellion in a nutshell.
And it's also important to note that Ned has flashbacks of Lyanna. She said, "Promise me, Ned." Jon Snow is the prince that was promised, in my opinion. And also, you have the whole situation with Stannis being told to go get the Targaryens, like Rhaella, Viserys, and Daenerys. Where some people think Daenerys was in Dorne because of her dreams of the lemon tree, but they were technically at Dragonstone. The one thing I'll add about to sort of play Debbie Downer to the whole Corrin Mance theory is that in the books, Ned Stark does tell Bran, like, because you know how a lot of people have the rumor that Ned Stark beat Sir Arthur Dayne, but Ned Stark told Bran, if not for Howland Reed, like, I wouldn't have survived that day. So in theory, technically, maybe Howland Reed stabbed Arthur Dayne and then they let him go. But more than likely, it's alluding to the same thing that happened in the show, is that Howland Reed saved Ned Stark's life. Dayne is dead, and then Ned took the sword, Dayne's sword, and brought it back to Ashara. So there are too many big holes in the whole Mance equals Rhaegar, Corran equals Dayne theory, but it's beautiful anyway.
Corran equals Dane. Come on. I mean, these guys just sat there. I mean, when it comes down to things like that, if we have a history for these people, like Corran's Halfhand, he has a whole history. He didn't just come out of thin air. People know who he is. He's been there for years. It wasn't like he was just there. When you have that, then the theories to me don't hold water. Oh, and then that would be it. If I don't have a history, that's like saying, all right, Hot Pie is Jon Snow. Well, we know Jon Snow was born here. We know the whole history of Jon Snow. If we're going to get rid of all that history, then maybe we can come up with that theory and say it is. You know, just like saying that, the DDT theory, where Danny and Khal Drogo equals Tyrion.
I was just going to say Danny had a wrestling match with Jake Roberts that gave her a DDT and put Damien. Sorry, that was
it's these things that I can't get behind. These theories like that, you know what I mean? So we're gonna do a stream about all theories that people have came up with. We're gonna go through them all.
I would love that.
I used to do a show when I first started called The Breaker of Lies, where I would just go through people's theories, and if it was good, but if it wasn't, I would explain to you exactly why I didn't. And we're gonna go through them all. We're gonna
we can each one of us give our thumbs up or thumbs down to it to see if it gets like put on to the next. You know what I mean? Like this is the theory. Do we approve of this as collectively or indivially, or
exactly? We'll go and listen. I'm even willing to put some of my theories up there for the task. Because that it's like just like I did with Barr's theory, but I will come better equipped with Barr's theory and stuff like that for Robb Stark not being Ned Stark's son. You know, I'm willing to put those out there and everything else. You know what I'm saying?
Now, Bridge, you're getting a little, feedback back. Alicia says the wedding's off, unfortunately, because of the Rhaegar man's theory.
Direwolf, Alicia Kingston.
Direwolf Alicia said the wedding's off because of the Rhaegar man's theory.
Kiki cut off our wedding too.
Yeah, Kiki cut off your wedding too. Yeah, we have two weddings canceled from Bridge tonight.
Bridge, I'm sorry, Bridge. If I knew that was on the line, I would have went with you.
Exactly, you just agree with them.
I would have just fronted. I would have just fronted on that. You know what I'm saying?
Tony really, he does take care of you in situations like that.
This is what I'm talking about. You got a man right here. He comes in here, the sea snake baby. You see, and I'm going to say this real quick because, I heard a lot of people, mad that Corlys Velaryon was actually casted in that role of the sea because basically because of his skin color. This is what it means for someone to be casted in that role as a person of color. It means that you can identify with somebody in the show and the book series that you love. Mm-hmm. And that's what it truly means. You know what I mean? That you can do that you can actually go to a convention and dress up as somebody and not feel awkward. Like I was going to go to a convention and dress up as someone. And I said, I'm going to dress up as Jon Snow and I'm going to put an Afro wig on and call myself John Bro. Right? Because there's no one there that looks like me. I would have to do that. But now that we have Corlys Velaryon, I can dress up as Corlys or his children and I can feel comfortable in that. So that's what I'm saying, what it means to people. Shout out to the Sea Snake rocking with us right now. You know what I mean? So, yes, I know John Bro would have been funny. I'm a funny motherfucker.
You still got to think about doing that one.
That's good. And that's why it's great. You know what I mean? So that's the way it should be and stuff like that. Dude. So I'm happy to have Corlys in the corner and all that.
Dude, he looks badass. It looks awesome. So cool. Yeah,
awesome.
And he's one of the most epic characters of the last 300 years, for sure.
People like, please do John Bro anyway. You know,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I guarantee you, I ain't doing no damn boat sex with fucking cow fucking chickens.
Oh, I'm
the
one that did the boat
do
sex.
that speed with him, like Con Snow did. But shout out to Con Snow. Con Snow looks great as motherfucking as Jon Snow at the con.
Oh wow! Someone mentioned. So Fernandez T said he looks like Drist. I got to be careful with my words because I don't want to say anything that's inappropriate. So Drist is I'll tell you guys this quickly. Drist is from a story. It's not my favorite story, but Drist is literally my number one character in any story. He's a dark elf, but he has like white hair. Yeah, he's like he's a shout out to Drist de Worden.
Oh, there you go. Alicia says, "Bridge, the chase begins again. You gotta start from the beginning. You gotta start from the beginning, Bridge.
Step one again. Yeah, step one.
But listen, at least you have a step. God damn it! Some people ain't even in the race, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, you ain't even in the race. At least you're at the starting gate. At least
exactly. At least you're in. Yep. You're in the race.
In the chat, I said, I'm like Peter Baelish. Like, I'm going down swinging.
That's the way it go. It is what it. I will be right back. Then we're gonna wrap it up as soon as I get back.
Sure.
So we'll take a couple comments here. If anyone has any last minute questions or comments about Robert's Rebellion or any Game of Thrones kind of stuff, I just want to touch upon something that Kevin, you were saying as well. I tend to not with television series and when new stuff come out. Like I look at images and stuff. Like today's the first day that I actually paid attention to images because they were actually released images. All those ones that are like stolen from the set. I appreciate people that do cover it and amen. Awesome. But for me, I do feel like I'm like a peeping Tom and I don't want to know too much about the production. I want to like be fooled by the magician with the tricks. So I see the presented situation, but this is actual images being released by HBO. So I get a little bit more into it. But I personally, from a television standpoint, get involved when I see a trailer, when I actually see visual action and see the tone of it. But where are you with all this? I know you're excited about House of Dragons, but you don't get too much into like too overwhelmed by pictures and such like that.
Yeah, I actually try my best to avoid anything that's not like an official release. I have seen things like I won't get into them now, but I have seen things like the recent spoiler stuff. But the one thing I'll say is that I'm really excited to see Lyanna Velaryon because supposedly she was like gorgeous, right? So I'm just wondering who they're going to cast as her. Probably some really hot girl. Damn it, there's something else I was going to say. Keep going, my bad.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, and just to say, like, I really love the images that we saw today. I'm not sold on the Targaryens, but the other looks I really enjoyed. But Matt Smith, like he needs to prove it to me on screen. I need to see him in action doing his thing. He's the only one I'm not 100% sold on yet. But I think he looks pretty cool, and I just don't like the look as much as I like some of the looks of all the other characters. He's the one that I'm a little like. Matt Smith just looks like a regular Targaryen. He just looks like big Viserys or like Rhaegar or something. Like I need him to show, and I might not see his individuality until I see him actually in action. But other than that, everything looks fucking awesome. He's the only one I'm a little iffy on.
I actually thought the exact same thing. Like, so I looked at a couple of pictures, had a couple of things I wanted to say. I recorded 9.5 minutes, cut it down to like 5 minutes, made a video. But even in that 9 minutes, I didn't say that. What I had wanted to say, though, is that so all the other characters, I am sold on them 100%. Like Queen Rhaenyra, here, let me say this about her. You know how like in the story, she technically, because it's after childbirth and she's gained a little weight, like she's not the gorgeous woman that she used to be. However, and we were all kind of saying the same thing, looking at the casting. We're like, she's not as like hot normally as a Targaryen is. She looks kind of gorgeous. It's
awesome, yeah.
So, but in terms of the point of my video actually, because I did mention how I've claimed Daemon to be my favorite Targaryen. I consider him one of the most interesting Targaryens to read about. He's not my favorite. Like I don't like him as a human per se, but what I was going to say, I have the same response is that I am sold on the casting of everyone except for him. I've never seen the guy perform, but I've heard that he's phenomenal. So I'm pretty sure the dude who plays Daemon, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get sold on him.
Yeah, me too.
Right away.
Too.
Yeah, that's not the guy you should worry about.
It's just the look.
Because he's a really good actor. Is that what it is?
If you're worried about any of them, that's not the guy to worry about.
Looks. They all like. I now see Allison. That's how I see Allison.
Who are you worried most about? Tony, who are you worried most about?
I'm not worried about any of the cast that they have so far that I've seen. That, but Matt Smith would be the last person that I would worry about. I said, the guy's he's a really good actor. If you watched
You've
him
seen
play,
him and stuff.
I've seen him play Charles Manson.
What is that?
Plays Charles Manson, and if you go watch him in that, I forgot the name of the movie that he played Charles Manson in. You'll never know that that's him. Like,
Really?
you just put it on. You won't believe that's him.
I only know him from watching him a couple times on Doctor Who. That's my only exposure.
Don't worry about Doctor Who. Go watch him perform Charles Manson, and you'll be like, "This really this dude?"
And I'm here. Just to be clear, I'm here for it, and like I'm here to check it out, and I'm open for it. All I mean is the first images I saw. The only thing that got me a little like I don't like the styling of his Targaryen look. This isn't even about him as an actor. But
if you want to talk about his clothing and everything else, that's on the costume department. Yeah. I'm just saying him as an actor,
right? And that's what I'm saying too. Like he once I see action on. That's why I try not to go too overboard just by images. Like once I see him acting on screen, I'm sold.
Have we seen his sword yet or no?
Why, you got a picture of it?
No, because he's got Dark Sister, or he should have Dark Sister. We're going to see Dark Sister finally.
Yep.
You will see Dark Sister.
Dude, that excitement was awesome. I'm living through your excitement bridge. That's fucking cool.
So here's the thing, like, because there's a debate, like, how skinny was Dark Sister? He used it in so many battles and whatnot, and like one-on-ones. I'm pretty sure, like, because some people think it's like a Bravosi blade. I kind of think it's like
blade.
No, I think it's like my sword. Is it in the picture? Yeah, I think it's more like this one right here. Like it's a skinnier blade, but not like.
Well, it's a Bravosi style. It was held by a woman, so that's why it's a Bravosi style blade. It's a smaller blade. It's it's not like it's a big long sword because a woman really held it and women used it. So you would think that maybe long claws, probably like a long claw, but a Bravosi style long claw. But this is what I'm saying. When this blade comes out, there'll be people selling this blade at the convention.
Yeah. Oh, no, 100%. 100%. And people in the live chat are selling me on Matt Smith a little bit. A lot of people are in Tourney. I know you've talked to me about that Charles Manson performance too. So people are saying he's awesome, he's amazing, he's gonna be great. So I don't want to come off like I'm open for it. I just haven't been exposed to a lot of him, so all I know him from is Doctor Who, and Kill Me. I like David Tennant better. So like it hasn't clicked with me yet, but like I said, 2 minutes of screen time, he'll have me.
Right. Let me address Jackie C, because though I love Jackie C, she's trying to call me out because I said because women held it. Yes, because when you deal with swords at this particular time, long swords are huge swords that a lot of women do not hold. This sword was specially made for a woman, because of a woman's build and a woman's care and physique at the time. So that's why it was built this way for. So I'm not saying that certain women can't hold long swords. It would be more like a woman like Brienne or someone like that who could have, but the average woman could hold this sword. Just like when you deal with guns of modern times, right? Women usually they can't hold the 50 caliber Desert Eagle because it's a huge gun, but a woman can hold a shotgun at her hip and shoot it, or a 22 or a 25 or something like that, or a baby 9mm. There are certain things that are meant. So this sword was designed for a woman. That's what I'm trying to say. Not trying to say that women can't hold other swords, but it's designed for a woman. So it's a smaller sword. That's the way it was made.
Someone in the chat. Arya Superstar just reminded me. I totally forget.
Great name.
Daemon actually has two swords. He started with Dark Sister, and then didn't he get Blackfire also? Where he's gonna have Blackfire, which I think Blackfire is Longclaw, but that's a whole nother story.
All right, so then Siren time is like if women lift weights, they can hold heavier things though. All right, Siren, you're just trying to start a fight. So I'm not even gonna I'm gonna recognize that I've seen you trying to start a fight. But I'm not going to have this fight with you because that's a silly comment right there. It truly is at all. But no doubt that that Matt Smith can hold, that he has the acting chops to hold this down. Guaranteed that he can do it.
I'm excited. I mean, I like going into something with lowered to no expectations of a performance because that's when I'm the most open to it. Like, so I'm actually like that. I'm just like not really exposed to Matt Smith and going in there kind of fresh to it. So yeah, the only thing I was saying, and again, is a different issue. Looking at all the images today, the only one I wasn't like, I'm not sold on quite yet is the way that they're designing the Targaryen. I think everyone else looks awesome, and I can't wait to see him in live action and start.
The hairstyle's terrible, and the hairstyle's terrible, and the costume isn't spectacular.
Not yet.
As for his acting ability, he's going.
I can't wait, and
he's going to kill it when it comes to acting. When it comes to him portraying this man as, because a lot of people, and this is the problem I think that people have when they hear about these people. You want them. Oh, Rhaegar. Oh, this guy. You want Brad Pitt. You want George Clooney. That's not reality. That because you hear in the books that they were so attractive and blah blah blah. They were attractive for their time. All right. And I think people have to realize that. And we're going to end right now because we're talking about something else, but we shouldn't be. But you're not attractive. When you're attractive for a time period at that time, doesn't mean that you're attractive for now. You can go back in the day and look at what beauty was at that time. It's not the same thing when people have beauty at modern time. People find different things attractive. Next, on top of that, when you're royalty and you're like the star of everything, you're automatically more attractive than the average person because of your stature. People believe that Lil Wayne is an attractive man. If Lil Wayne wasn't Lil Wayne and he was just little Leroy walking down the block, no one would tell me he's as attractive as he is. People believe that I can go through 1,000 celebrities like this, that they are attractive because of their, and it's their look at Prince William. Everyone said he is the hottest man in the world. Is he really? Look at him. It's just that he's Prince William. That makes him more attractive, that Prince title. So there are certain things that you can have that make people more attractive to you, especially fame and celebrity. So everyone expects him to look like Brad Pitt. Doesn't mean he is Brad Pitt or looks like that. Brad Pitt is Brad Pitt, whether he's famous or not. That's the bottom line. He will always have, but he wouldn't be as good looking as Brad Pitt is unless he had that fame. Good looking is good looking, of course. But there's certain people, you don't have to be that good looking. You just have to be famous. And I look at these people, the way they casted them, and that is good looking. It's like this Targaryen chick. Oh, she was the greatest looking chick in the realm. Yeah, she's famous. Of course she is. Doesn't mean she actually truly was the greatest looking. I'm sure there's someone in a small town that you never heard of that's better looking all around. That's what it comes down to, and that's what it is. So I think that people are just harping too much on that. Does he have the sword play? Does he have the arrogance that he's supposed to have and all that? And I think he's going to be able to pull all those things off when it's all said and done.
Now, Alicia sent me one last question. Tell Tony it literally makes more sense to have Rihanna cheat on her half-black husband with a white dude and pop out a white-ass kid that don't look black.
Yes, it definitely could do that easily. You know what I mean? I will say in my family that there are that my aunt, my grandma, she'll be my great aunt because my grandmother's sister. When she moved, when they moved up from down south and they moved to Marcy Projects in Brooklyn. Yes, the same projects Jay-Z grew up in.
Queens.
Everything else.
Queens.
Yeah, and I was in Brooklyn. But when they moved there, because my aunt looked white, she looks like, if I show you a picture of her, she looks like a white woman. Like you would not believe that she was black. She would get apartments for all of her family members. So she would go down there and say, I need an apartment. And all the guys were attracted to her. They would give her the apartments. And that's how my whole family got into Marcy Projects, because she looked like a white woman. And that was the bottom line. She had long hair. She just happened to look white, even though she had the same exact parents of as everyone else. So yes, there's no doubt that does happen all the time. There are women who have sex with white men and pop out black babies because they have black in their history. And I'll only take a shot with you, Bridge. But
yeah. Let's take.
Can I clear something up for people that aren't looking at the live chat? So a couple of minutes ago, I had just got really excited when I saw someone in the chat mention both Blackfire and Dark Sister. And I was like, wait a second. Did Daemon have both of them? I was thinking of Maegor the Cruel. At one point in time, Maegor the Cruel held both. He was first had Dark Sister, and then he was given Blackfire when his father died.
What a horrible bastard Rhaegar was too. He's my favorite Targaryen in a weird fucked up way. I'm a sick fuck.
But we will see both Dark Sister and Blackfire in this story because Daemon has Dark Sister and Aegon II has Blackfire. Oh my god!
Yeah, we will see both legendary Targaryen swords. We better see them, and they better do a better job at them than we've seen in Game of Thrones, because it's just terrible. Because at one point we see Brienne, and all right, and I'm done after this. But we're gonna get at it. We see Brienne hold the Valyrian steel sword and get into a sword fight with somebody else, and chop his sword shatters when it hits her sword. And then 3 scenes later, we see Brienne fight the Hound, and he's able to hold that sword in his bare hands.
Dude, in fairness, also I was rewatching the episode where Jon Snow fights the dude from Gin Alley and he's like blocking the Valyrian sword with daggers. Unless those were Valyrian daggers that I didn't know about that idiot from Gin Alley has. I don't know how Jon wasn't just like destroying those daggers with one Valyrian strike with Longclaw.
No, shout out to my favorite story, Stormlight Archive. I won't spoil something, but there's a move that's called the clap. It's when it's the sword's coming down at you and you you clap and you hold it so it doesn't actually get to you.
But his hands were bleeding, so it got to him at some particular time. It definitely hit. It got him in some way that his hands were bleeding. So if it got to his hands, should have been sliced in half. If it hit him that much, that's about. If it could shatter steel like that, you should go right there. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us the whole time. The Usual Suspects podcast, we truly appreciate it. Again, if you want to hear us talk about a topic, all you have to do is go in the comment section when this video is over and put it in the comment section what you want to hear us talk about. Again, I truly appreciate everybody joining us. Phil, what do you have going on this week that the people need to know about?
Tomorrow on Phil the Issues Guy here on YouTube, I will be streaming at about 4 o'clock with my co-host over there, Joe Dirty Locks. We'll be talking a little bit about the Game of Thrones pictures and a lot about the Invincible season finale and what we want to see from season 2 of Invincible. So that's the next couple of things. That's the next thing coming up on the channel. And then if Tony has, I'll probably be on Saturday night on an After Dark on Teflon TV.
No, that Bridge 4. Let the people know. I know you do a video every day. Let them know all these.
No, so I've got one video done. I meant to release it today, Wednesday, but I want to do Shadow and Bone Thursday and another one Friday. These videos just take me forever, though, so I'm not releasing it until Monday. But Monday, you're going to see my first of 3 theories related to House of the Dragon. So it's based off the text. There are major spoilers, but it's what I'm going to propose is not written in the text. It's pretty cool, though. I put my heart into this video.
Nice. And I'm the Don Tony Teflon. I dropped a video probably about House of the Dragon every day. I think I did 3 videos today about House of the Dragon, including this live stream, which really isn't about House of the Dragon and everything else, but I did 2 of those at least. I also have another Mayor of Eastwood. We do that stream every Tuesday with Lamar, so definitely check out. If you're watching Mayor of Eastwood, check that out. I have another video dropping about that. And I will be doing the After Dark stream, which is Saturday night with Phil, and Bridges coming on too with Foursome on. And he'll be on there, and those streams get deleted because we talk about a lot of stuff. We were blessed to have Gray Area and Alicia and a bunch of people on there last week, so we'll see if we can get some more ladies on there. Bridges got to start working all over again, so you know he's got to put the work in and stuff like that. And I promise, I said this before, I will, when I do the After Dark stream, I will start it off and we will go through the whole Septim Moon situation because everyone's interested. I got 2 super chats about Septim Moon. So
a lot of Septim Moon discussion.
Yeah, well, I was going to put a video out about it, and I'd rather just do a video on it. I did do a video about it, but I'll do a remix of the video. I really don't want to give it away and just say it on the live stream. But because I had so many chats about it, I definitely will do it and everything else. So we definitely will rock that. Listen, again, thanks everybody for coming. I got to work in the goddamn morning. I'm sure you do too. But until then, thumbs up this video, spread it across the realm, and also subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. And again, Friday night, you're looking for live streams, Direwolf City Podcast.
Oh, yeah. Direwolf, 10 p.m. on Gray Area.
There on Friday night. So make sure that you're all that. And hopefully I will be in the chat with my wrench regulating. Till then, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.